Welcome back to Derailed. My name is JJ Lahey. I'm here with my wonderful co-host Jake Schyvinck. Apologies, I cannot get my webcam working. That's why we're so late starting tonight. So sorry about that. So here's my commitment. You guys send in any donations, any super chats, whatever. We split them 50-50, me and Jake. I think Jake donates to charity because he's a swell guy. I'm going to donate mine toward a new webcam. So that's my commitment to you guys. Any donos that you feel like dropping in. Tyler Dershel says the show doesn't start until we see Ed Policy's face. And honestly, that's the only face we need. You don't need my face. All right. So, Jake, here's the big question. Are the Packers ready to upstage the Lions?
Probably as ready as they'll ever be. And I think it just comes from playing cleaner football the last couple of weeks. I know it's San Francisco, right, without their quarterback and a lot of other things, and then a team who is clearly bothered by the cold. But I do think with what we've seen from the Lions, at least more recently, I think there is, something going on with them defensively to where, besides the injuries even, that I think is going to be in prime position for Green Bay to attack. They've been running it really, really well with Josh Jacobs carrying the load. That takes a lot of pressure off things. That opens up the opportunities to do a lot more on offense. And with the team missing what sounds like at least 3 defensive linemen in the rotation, obviously Hutchinson's been out. Linebackers group is beat up. I think they're going to have their opportunity to potentially win a shootout and also, potentially get ahead and force the Lions into something they haven't been doing much all year, which is chasing. So I think if anybody's going to do it down the stretch here, it's going to be Green Bay or it's going to be Buffalo. I think, those are the two, biggest challenges left for this Lions team.
Yeah, if you look at the Lions defense, and Lions fans are concerned about their defensive depth at the moment. I've talked to a lot of them in the last week, especially with the last couple weeks. They're very concerned, especially about linebacker. They've lost a couple linebackers right now. They still have Jack Campbell. He's playing well. He's the 9th highest graded linebacker in the NFL by PFF. He's going to be playing next to David Long Jr., who's been having a rocky year so far. And then presumably Ezekiel Turner is going to get the nod as well. If you don't know the name Ezekiel Turner, as a lot of people don't, he's been around for a while. He was drafted in 2018. He's kind of never been great, kind of a career special teamer. So we'll see. I think that there's probably opportunity here for the Packers to run. They got to face a depleted linebacker room last week with Miami. And of course, the week before they got to, depending on which side of the field they ran to, they could either be running against Fred Warner or the cavernous gap that is Devondre Campbell in 2024 in run defense. So the Packers run game is cooking. I think that their guards maybe have had not the greatest run of it, but despite that, they're running pretty excellently. I think that Josh Myers and both tackles have kind of been doing just absolutely yeoman's work in the run blocking game. And then, of course, Josh Jacobs is getting hit about 2/3 of a yard past line of scrimmage on any average play and still averaging about 4 yards a carry. So kudos to Josh Jacobs. I would like to see him run all over the Lions again this week as well.
Yeah, it'd be great. I think it's a great point bringing up Josh Myers. Let's get this out of the way. Speculation. He's coming back. Almost positive. It's a barren wasteland, the 2025 NFL Draft center class. Don't get your hopes up. Don't study those positions. They've got their center. Josh Myers will come back. Jacob Monk's ready in the wings as the backup. That's the plan. I'm very convinced of that as of now.
If you tweet that, Josh Myers is going to look at it and say, That would really hurt my feelings if I could read.
What?
Josh Myers IQ joke.
Oh.
He's not everybody's favorite player.
Well, that's for sure. That's a guarantee.
Speaking of people who are not favorite players,
I'll
so
tweet
Eric
it. I'm
Stokes
not
is not-
scared. I'll tweet it.
Eric Stokes has not been playing great football. Spoiler alert, none of the Packers corners have been.
No.
Jake, if you had to give me your best educated guess, how many cornerbacks have played defensive snaps for the Packers this year?
How many corners? I assume you're not counting Bullard playing nickel corner, or are we counting that?
I'm not counting Bullard.
Okay.
I think it would be fair to count him. I'm just not choosing to.
Yeah. No, I think that's fair because he has played safety, so I think it's fair to exclude him. I want to say 7.
It's only 5.
Wow.
We've only had 5 corners play
We're okay with
for
that?
the Packers. You throw the safeties in there. There's only been 4 safeties. We've only had 9 DBs play at least one defensive snap for the Packers this regular season. Just kind of crazy. So Eric Stokes has allowed a 106.3 NFL passer rating when targeted.
It's okay. That's been
Tool
good
for
relative to recent years. So we're trending in the right direction. That's all that matters.
Yeah. So, tool for this says Andy Herman killed Stokes on Twitter by just showing the stats. Yeah, I'll just read the tweet. It was
Yeah.
It was
Do you
an
want me to bring it
eye-opening
up?
tweet.
I have it.
I have it too. I'll just share it right here.
You want to share it? Go ahead. Yeah.
So this is
I mean,
even
hey.
for people who are well aware that he has not played well.
yeah,
It's still a mind-boggling stat.
Yeah, this was very jarring to look at and to read over and over. Like that,
Andy Herman
very jarring.
crediting Bill Huber for noticing this. Eric Stokes has played 999 defensive snaps over the past 3 seasons. He has 0 interceptions and 0 pass breakups, 3 penalties, 6 touchdowns allowed, and his passer rating by year, 106.3 this season, 152.9 last year, and 125.8 in 2022. Now, frankly, I don't give a crap about 2023. We've discussed my feelings, and I think, Jake, you agree with me about 2023. We're throwing that one out. 2024, pretty darn relevant to us.
Yeah.
106.3 passer rating when targeted sounds bad. But did you know that is actually the 4th best passer rating when targeted allowed by a Packers cornerback this year? So Jair Alexander obviously scores best in this area. 79.9 passer rating when targeted. You'll take it. Maybe not exactly what you want from your CB1, but holy crap, does it look good compared to what we're about to look at.
Yeah. I mean,
Keyshawn Nixon, 114.8. Hey, that's pretty bad, right? And he's got 4 penalties. Hey, that's not great. But wait, there's more. Carrington Valentine, 258 snaps, 117.1. Hey, that's not great. But wait, there's more. Corey Ballantyne only played 45 snaps so far, but obviously he's been getting playing time the last couple weeks.
yeah.
A perfect 156.3 NFL passer rating when targeted. He's given up 1 touchdown, has no pass breakups, no interceptions. We are not getting any production from any cornerback on the roster. I would say when you factor in Jair's health and the fact that he has not been available, and I'm not criticizing Jair for that. I'm just putting into context of here's what we need from our cornerback room. Here's what's being contributed. Jair has not been able to contribute what he or anybody else would like him to contribute because of his health situation. He does have a serious injury. I think Keyshawn Nixon clearly has provided the most positive value in that cornerback room of anybody else. If you're not going to count Javon Bullard, so he's got a 114 passer rating when targeted. Has 4 pass breakups, 5 touchdowns allowed, 4 penalties. This is straight up horrific. It's giving me late 2016 vibes of like, dude, please don't put us up against an elite passing team.
Well, I think a couple quick things. I think to no one's surprise, if you look at the splits for Keyshawn Nixon, 115 passer rating allowed from a cornerback alignment, 99 when in the slot. I don't think that should shock anybody, right? Having him play on the outside has been essentially trying to cover up what else is going on out there when Jair's not playing, right? Like they're trying to do whatever they can. Like, please, maybe Nixon can give us the best chance considering what we've seen from the rest. And yeah, I mean, it's gotten also to the point where it's surprising they've only played 5, right? They're not like looking at other options, most notably somebody they drafted in the 7th round. I get it as a 7th round pick, but like, my goodness, it would be great to like see something and be like, okay, of the 7-8 corners that we have on the roster plus the practice squad, we're getting nothing from any of it, and have a really good idea of like, okay, 2-3 corners next draft class, like this has to be addressed aggressively.
And I don't, Jake, did you feel during draft season that cornerback was a major need for the Packers? Obviously, the draft industry felt that it was a major need, and like, hey, can we get Kool-Aid or Terrion or Cooper in Green Bay? Did you agree at that time, not in hindsight, that cornerback was a huge need at that point?
I feel like I want to say for me, it probably was 4th on the list, if I remember correctly, right? Obviously, safety needed it, linebacker, and I was still on offensive line as well, just because, again, I think it was fair at the time.
We're going to get a takedown notice from Brian Gutekunst for suggesting we needed any help on offensive line.
Well, I mean, you're betting on, that second half that Sheed had, and it's working out. Sheed looks great. That was totally fine. Clearly, Goody shared the sentiment because it takes Jordan Morgan in the first. But I did think corner was going to get addressed. I didn't think it was going to happen as late as round 7. That was very shocking to me. And I think a lot of people were quick to go like, well, they, why would you say that they need corner? They're happy with their cornerback room. Yeah, I'm sure they are now. I'm sure they're very happy with it. I'm sure they're very pleased with what's going on at corner right now. So yeah, major is probably stretching it, but it was definitely like higher up on the list of like, okay, this is something that, I get it. You want to bet on, continue to bet on Nixon, okay, let's see what Stokes can do. But it's kind of like that's fine. But like at some point you needed some insurance policy and they don't have it now. And that's coming in 2025. There's no one's running through the door. Right. Trade deadline's passed. So they're kind of stuck with where they're at. And I would like to see other guys, potentially get an opportunity here, because just what Green Bay's trotting out there just isn't quite working, especially when Jair is out. Like it could be very rough on Thursday, just simply because St. Brown, Jamison Williams coming into his own in year 3, like, and it's not going to get, it's not getting easier down the stretch, right? You're going to get your Jefferson Addison combo, and you've got Chicago one more time. So, and Seattle. Don't forget about DKJSN. So, yeah, it doesn't get a lot easier from here, and playoffs are going to be the same way, right? You're going to have Brown and Smith walking through the door. So, if you end up playing them, so it's not a good situation to be in.
If Jair had been healthy all year, do you think we'd still be having this conversation?
Yeah, kind of. I think it'd be kind of evident that, like, whoever they were trotting out there opposite Ja was the one getting targeted a lot. I think we'd probably still have the same Stokes conversation, right? No PBUs, no interceptions, and it's been very clear that the number change is not going well for Valentine.
Yeah,
And
we had that.
yeah,
You know what? The chat was supposed to be tweeting at Valentine throughout the week to get him to change his number back.
yeah.
I didn't.
Did that happen?
I forgot to do it.
I also forgot. Thanksgiving weekend. I feel like we should. All right, we're back. Turkey Day, Turkey weekend is kind of past us now. I think we gotta get back to work a little bit per se to make sure that Valentine's got to go back to 37. We can't.
If you tweeted at Valentine to change his number in the past week, drop it in the chat and let us know.
Yeah, I want to see it.
1 platinum star.
There you go.
1 platinum cheese wheel.
10 platinum stars and you get a diamond star. And then, it keeps going.
And Carrington, if you're listening, change your number. If you do, we will award you 1 Lombardi made of cheese.
I was gonna say
generated by AI in an image.
a policy buck.
1 policy. What's the conversion rate of policy bucks to Goody coins?
I didn't check. That today. It's been a fluctuating currency. We'll have to get back to that.
All right. Too old for this. Please advise. You're kind of the expert on this topic.
Yeah.
Too old for this. Didn't even know that Carrington Valentine changed his number. Yeah, so he was 37 last year. What is he this year? 24?
24, yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Bad move there, Carrington.
Yeah. And again, it's the Cooper DeJean thing, super fun. Like, it's if you guys want to be depressed a little more, I got a great video on Cooper DeJean. Go check it out. He's been playing really, really well. But to be fair, he's playing nickel corner, which is where he should be playing. So,
anybody with 2 brain cells to rub together who watched his college tape immediately said, "Hey, this guy is an NFL nickel. Let's play him there full time."
And
him in that's obviously why Goody didn't draft him, is because he doesn't draft, nickels in the first round. That's obviously what happened.
Well, not to beat a dead horse, but he was available in the second round. So
no, we had to draft an off-ball linebacker early instead. So
yeah. Well, it was the only one in the class.
Frankly, the reason he didn't draft him in the first round is because Jordan Morgan was sitting there, and Jordan Morgan was the last available first-round talent at offensive tackle who, was available. So
it's true.
That's obviously why they drafted him.
It's true.
So going back to the Lions on defense, because we were talking about their linebackers.
Yeah.
I think they've done kind of an okay job patching together their new look defensive line. DJ Reader and Alim McNeil are still holding up the interior just fine. They did bring in, the psycho himself, Zadarius Smith. We'll see how long he lasts in Detroit before he decides that his teammates in Detroit are the worst human beings he's ever met. Opposite Z is Josh Pascal, who frankly has been in my opinion, a massive disappointment. I had huge expectations for him in the draft, and he's just kind of never lived up to that as a run stopper or a pass rusher.
Yeah, especially as a second-round pick, too. Right? They
pretty
took
athletic dude, could go off at any time. Would love to not have his, welcome to the NFL game be against us. Just saying. But I would say that there are certainly multiple places on this defense that you can pick on guys. Terrion Arnold has not had a fantastic rookie season.
No.
Josh Pascal and 2 of their 3 linebackers can be picked on. You want to stay away from the safeties. Kirby Joseph is playing out of his mind. I know you're a big Brian Branch guy as well. It's certainly a formidable duo, and absolutely having Joseph and Branch playing together is a winning combo.
Yeah.
Those 2 guys are that's right there is the opportunity for the Lions defense to get disruptive and make life difficult for Jordan Love. I fully expect Jordan to throw at least one pick. I think he's been playing pretty well the last few weeks. Like 2 weeks ago? Which game was it? The 49ers game. I didn't think he was quite as sharp, but I thought he kind of got back to form again against the Dolphins. Dolphins game was good. Bears game was really good. 49ers game was kind of just okay. But if we can get the version of Jordan we've had, 2 out of the last 3 weeks, I think we're in really good shape.
Yeah, I think taking care of the ball is going to be paramount, as it always is in games of this magnitude. So I'm hopeful, no interceptions. It's very nice to have two guys who you can check the ball down to that can create after the catch in Jacobs and Kraft right now. That's been massive. As long as Wicks, doesn't pin the ball to his chest, we're in decent shape. But yeah, I mean, it's gonna be the ability to, I think, run to the perimeter, right? Attack the edges. I think a lot of what we talked way back about doing against the Titans as well, which was, it's a similar situation, McNeil, Reeder, to Simmons and Sweat. So that, I think that opportunity is going to be there. But yeah, I mean, Terrion Arnold, penalties have been the Achilles heel for him so far in his rookie season. He definitely panics when out of position, which is very strange. I mean, he is definitely somebody who at Alabama opened up a little earlier than he needed to. So you could see that kind of like, not necessarily panic, but he was always sort of retreating early. So when he gets down the field, yeah, he kind of loses his way a little bit and then gets into recovery mode. So, there are going to be opportunities for Watson, for Reed, for Wicks to win against guys like that. And I know that the injury report is pretty full for the Lions in terms of the trenches right now. Carlton Davis should be back, though, for Detroit. But Reeder, no practice. Pascal, no practice. Levi and Muzarike, no practice. And then obviously Decker, no practice. So, if there was any point for Green Bay to kind of try to assert dominance in the trenches, this could be the time. You're going to get a backup left tackle out there, and they're not going to be able to rotate as many guys on that defensive line. So as we kind of open the show with running the football, play action, I feel like is going to be massive in this game. Campbell's been good, but he's been exactly what he's advertised to be coming out of Iowa, which is a run defender. That's what he is. That's where he can operate. And I think with, a pretty, shallow group right now, I think there's going to be areas to attack over the middle of the field. Obviously, you're going to have your eyes, as you mentioned, JJ, on the safeties at all times. But I feel comfortable with this offense going into this one. It's really going to be about how the defense matches up, especially with their receivers. So,
yeah, let's go ahead and switch sides of the ball here. I mean, here's the number one thing with their offense is that the offensive line is still absolutely freaking elite. If you go to PFF and you go to the lineup where it just shows everybody on both sides of the ball, and you compare the Detroit Lions offensive line, first of all, you get like they're missing their left tackle and their former left guard. But from center, right guard, right tackle, you have second in the NFL, and fourth in the NFL at their positions for Frank Ragnow,
Kevin Zeitler,
Kevin Zeitler, and Penei Sewell. And if you look at the Packers, it's like it looks like we are starting a bunch of our backups, frankly.
It does.
Elton Jenkins, 51st out of 73 guards. Josh Myers, 38th out of 39 centers. Sean Ryan, 56th out of 73 guards. The tackles look okay. Rasheed Walker, 48th out of 76 tackles. That's 64.9. He's the second highest graded offensive lineman we have. Zach Tom, killing it, 7th out of 76 tackles. Still would be the lowest graded guy on the right side of the Lions offensive line if he came in, played a jumbo Buffalo package or whatever. But obviously the left side of the Lions offensive line is where you're going to want to try and generate some pressure. Dan Skipper, I don't think has ever been a very competent football player. I really don't enjoy watching him play, except that I dislike the Lions, so I do like watching him play. And Graham Glasgow, I would say, is having a bit of a down year this year. He's still a competent football player, but he's not the same Graham Glasgow that you have been watching for the last 8 years. So that is certainly the part of the offensive line to try and generate some pressure. As far as the wide receivers go, obviously St. Brown is the guy who's going to kill you. I think that Tim Patrick and Jameson Williams maybe would present problems for our group of cornerbacks, but a competent cornerback room shouldn't have any trouble with them. But the problem is that St. Brown is probably going to draw double teams. Maybe you try and blanket him with a safety over top and a linebacker underneath, something like that. I wouldn't hate trying to put Quay Walker in that position after the way he's played the last 2 weeks. But then that does kind of leave you vulnerable to Sam Laporta shredding you, going the other direction. So I think that St. Brown and Laporta working together is a pretty lethal combo. And if you do choose to devote all your resources to them, then Jameson Williams and Tim Patrick can get behind you. I don't think either one of them are great wide receivers, but if you're going to leave them on comfort, they'll murder you all day long.
Yeah, succinct.
And of course, this doesn't even bring up
the
real strength of the Lions' offense, which is their run game. Their run game is absolutely brutal.
Yes. Yep, their run game is simple and effective. They can bring everyone into the box if they want to, and still defeat you with angles and personnel. No matter who's in there. David Montgomery, special contact balance, and Jahmyr Gibbs, special acceleration and speed. And when you have the Knuckles and Sonic duo coming at you for 4 quarters, it's not fun. I think most NFL players, no matter how good, are going to be by the 4th quarter not pleased that they have to tackle Montgomery or not pleased that they have to chase down Gibbs. So, yeah, it's going to take Green Bay's best. And I know they did a nice job the first time around, but kind of a weird weather game, and this time around it's in a nice comfy dome. So I don't think we're going to see that kind of, anybody slipping or anything like that. I think the technique is going to be a lot better on the turf inside. So yeah, it's going to be a pain for this defense, and any way possible to especially limit Montgomery early. Don't let him bounce off tackles, right? Don't let him turn 3 to 4 yard gains into 11. You have to be able to tackle. I'm talking to everybody, not just the linebackers, not just the defensive line, the safeties as well. When they're filling downhill, like that you have to wrap up, you have to tackle, or it's going to be a game of attrition to defend that run game. So yeah, it's not an easy task. There's a reason they're the 1 seed in the NFC right now. There's a reason they've only lost 1 time. So yeah, it's still a tall order, but I really like Green Bay getting the ball, getting down the field, scoring on your opening script, and then seeing what happens when this Lions group plays from behind a little bit. I think that has to be the goal. I would not defer if I win the toss. No chance at all. Let's see what Detroit can do playing from behind and try to go from there.
Here's my two keys to this game. It's the two areas where they have, frankly, crapped the bed the last 2 out of the last 3 times they played the Lions. Penalties and interior pass protection.
Yeah.
Yes, the Lions have Za'Darius, and he's, perpetually has a chip
fine.
on his shoulder, whatever. But it's going to be the two interior guys, Alim McNeil and DJ Reader, who I think have the most ability to affect Jordan Love, affect the run game and the pass game, and the guards and Josh Myers have just not performed admirably at all against the Lions last couple games. Plus the freaking penalties. If we are especially if we get holding penalties, it's absolutely backbreaker. This Lions defense loves to get you, at 1st and 20. They can tee off on you all day long, thanks to those safeties. Those safeties are made to take advantage of you getting yourself into stupid yardage situations from penalties. So if the Packers don't beat themselves for a 3rd time in 4 games against the Lions with penalties, and they don't let the defensive tackles for Detroit screw up all their plans offensively, I think that they have shown that they can hang with everything else that Detroit can throw at them.
Yeah. I really don't think that this is some sort of insane matchup where it unquestionably favors Detroit. It just seems like Detroit takes care of the little things better just in these games. As you mentioned, penalties, right? Tackling, right? A lot of the fundamentals just show up for Detroit in these big games where Green Bay can show up with fundamentals and the big plays and all that in big games. They just haven't really done it against Detroit other than last year on Thanksgiving. Yeah. Right. And so that's what I mean. I think last year showed that, on the road, Green Bay came out and said, no, we're scoring first. We're going to put the pressure on you and see how you respond. And I think as long as they take that similar approach this time around, I feel really confident. Now, I will say the Lions, by the way, love NFL Pro with the next-gen stats and insights, right? Lions have blitzed the 2nd highest rate in the NFL since losing Hutchinson. Jordan Love has not been especially good against the blitz. He kind of lets the play kind of extend a little bit more than he should, and then, that's either throwaways or that's dangerous throws. So having an answer for the blitz, because I know the Lions are going to do that, right? They're not going to let Jordan Love sit back there, no matter how good they believe their safeties are, and they're very, very good. They're going to blitz. They're going to force Jordan Love to make quick decisions and make quick, correct decisions. And he has to know that that's what he's going to see a lot of on Thursday. I'm sure they're talking about that all week. So that's going to be massive for him is to really just put together a good game when blitzed. It's doable. They have the weapons for it. It's kind of got be a little bit more on tense shoulders to kind of course correct from what he's done against the blitz so far this season. That's the big one.
He's using PFF to break it down. When not blitzed, he has an 80.1 passing grade, 106.9 passer rating. When he is blitz, he's sitting at 59 grade and 70. Yeah. Can't see what this is. 72, 70 something. Passer rating. It's covered up. And so he has been blitzed about a third of the time, just over 100 snaps, and he has thrown 6 touchdowns, 6 interceptions when blitzed. He has not been blitzed on 215 of his dropbacks, so that's 2/3 of the time.
Yeah.
14 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. So about half as good of numbers in both situations.
Yeah.
Interestingly, the turnover-worthy play percentage is not too far off. 4.1% of the time he's throwing a turnover-worthy play when he's blitzed. 3.5% of the time he's throwing a turnover-worthy play when he's not blitzed. But the big difference is the big-time throws. 1.7% of the time when he's blitzed. 4.7% of the time when he is not blitzed.
Yeah, and to continue on that point, Jordan Love has the second worst EPA against the blitz, and he has the best EPA against 4 or fewer rushers. So, I mean, they're gonna bring it when given that opportunity. So, heck, if they're ready, yeah, go ahead.
That tells me expect to see Chris Brooks out there in pass protection a lot.
Yeah.
By the way, this has been sitting here for a minute now, and I want to react to it. I said that I forget what I said. I said somebody wasn't performing admirably. I think it was our interior offensive lineman. And Too Old for This asked if they had been performed impishly, which is a reference, of course, to Dwight Schrute in one of the Christmas episodes of The Office when he was dressed up as the German Father Christmas Belschnickel or something like that, and asking if the children were behaving impishly or admirably. So deep dig there from Too Old for This. Kudos.
Interesting.
Maybe chuckle. I just didn't want to chuckle while Jake was talking.
Would never have guessed what that was from. So,
do you watch The Office, Jake?
I've seen some episodes.
Oh, you hear that, Too Old for This? Come on,
I've seen some episodes.
You won't. We may
I don't
have
think
to
you'll convert me.
If it weren't for the fact that we would probably get demonetized, I would want to do a weekly Office clip on here, but I think that we would lose our ad revenue if we did that.
Yeah, which then directly, yes.
Jake totally shrewded it.
Again, I don't know what that means either. No idea.
Jake, what shows do you like?
Psych and White Collar. Top 2,
Psych,
no question.
Psych's kind of funny.
Not even close. Nothing else is even close from what I've watched, so those are my top 2 easily.
My sister's a big Psych fan.
Oh, yeah. I have shirts. I have a pineapple that always sits in my dwelling. So, yes, that is where I sit on the TV show spectrum, yes. Too Old for This has heard it both ways, as have I.
I'm guessing that's a reference to Psych.
Mm-hmm. It is. Indeed.
I'll have to give Psych a try.
Oh, there we go. See, Too Old for This is fine. Too Old for This, is in both of our corners, JJ.
Maybe
Too Old
what
for
we
This
need
is versatile.
Is a weekly Psych clip and a weekly Office clip.
There you go. There you go.
And then we can double our chances of getting demonetized every week.
Yeah. I mean, why not? Why not roll the dice twice, Might as
what
well.
If, can't you? I'm pretty sure if we mirror the footage that we get away with it. I think that's how it works. If you shrink it down so it doesn't fill up the whole screen and you mirror it left to right.
I think if we're trying that, I think all of this goes to its own channel, Derailed Football, so I don't get strikes on this one. Something to monitor down the line if we go that route.
Hey, the one perk is it would be easier for people to find this derailed stream.
Well, we'll probably be discussing this off. We'll probably be discussing this off camera, I'm sure. Which isn't the worst idea. Derailed Football really doesn't have like a, anything competing with it in search as I've looked at recently. So
There's also no other competition in the try to stay on topic, but also talk about ridiculous
Right.
crap and
Find it.
have
I haven't seen it.
50 running jokes. Nobody else is doing that either.
It's true. It's true. Well, for those
And
who are
also
watching
specifically
tonight,
talk about the Packers and specifically talk about Northern College football. There is no
Yeah.
other show out there like this one. That's
yeah.
for
So
darn
those who are longtime watchers, make sure you're up to date and showing up every week because you never know. You never know. We may try to optimize our search results by making a switch. We'll see.
speaking of making a switch,
We
so
derailed ourselves. What are we doing?
No, that was all too old for this.
I guess kind of. Yeah. I guess kind of. That's true.
Speaking of making a switch, so obviously last week due to Thanksgiving, and then this week due to Thursday Night Football, we moved out the time slot of our
Yes.
live stream from Wednesday night to Tuesday night, and by the way, shout out to everybody who still tries to tune in every single week, even though it jumps around because there's been times when it was Monday night, times when it was I don't remember what are the nights of the week we have made.
I think we did. We might have done a Friday once.
I think we did do Fridays.
I think we did a Friday one time. Yeah.
Here's what I want to know from the chat. Please drop in the chat your ideal night for us to do the live stream. I think that there's
That'd be
like
good.
some flexibility for Jake and I to try and figure out what combo is going to be best for the most number of listeners. So what night would be most ideal for you?
Yes.
For us to live
That would be
stream?
good.
Keep in mind,
That would be good.
during the regular season, we don't really want to do Monday night or Thursday night because we don't want to compete with NFL football.
Yeah. Plus,
Because frankly, we're gonna get like 2 people tuning in if there's a Monday night game and we're also live streaming. Like it's just gonna be me and Jake.
I think the first time we could even think about doing a Monday night is January 27th because the 20th is the Natty. And that's also going to be a no. So
Tyler says he told his fiance he's busy on Tuesdays, so
There
his
you
vote
go.
is to stick with Tuesdays so he doesn't get in trouble. Of course, I guess I shouldn't say stick with Tuesdays. We haven't been doing Tuesdays except for these last 2
yeah,
weeks.
these last Tuesdays.
Well, keep dropping your opinions in the chat and let us know if you're
this
listening
is
to the audio
This is a
version.
tough one from Chris.
If you're listening to the audio version, you can send either one of us a message. For me, the best way to get in touch with me is on X. I'm at JJ Lahey, JJLAHEY. So,
Yes, and I am also on the
Let us
artist
know.
formerly known as Twitter at Jake NFL Draft.
So
I think that's
there's
the best. I think that's the best
would
way to call that
expect-
app. So
I do think it's time for people who write tech articles to stop saying, in a post on X (parentheses formerly known as Twitter). Like I think it's been X long enough that we can stop doing it like that. But
yeah,
but I would expect that we would hear from some people who are listening on the audio version, rather than the live,
that's possible.
because you guys were not able to tune in while it was live, so you probably have a big opinion about what night you'd like to be. So we'll see what we can do about finding the ideal night that works for the two of us and for the most number of listeners, and also for Tyler, who wants to be on Tuesdays.
Yeah.
And Tool for this said it should just be called Twix. I pronounce it Schwitter, XWITTER, Schwitter. So
Interesting.
that's what I think it should be called.
Interesting. Twix is pretty good.
Twix is also good. Twix is probably better, frankly. By the
Gosh,
way,
if they could get I mean, then you could, in theory, you could. Your major source of ads is coming from the candy, and you could like, have that be a setting, right? The color scheme be a setting if you wanted,
right?
Like there are a lot of opportunities
That'd be
here.
sick.
A lot of
Well, Twix is my favorite candy bar.
Yo, it's top 2 for me. It's top 2 for me.
So
I like
Mars
it a lot.
obviously owns Twix. They own like all of the good All my favorites. They own
And
M&M's.
Elon wants to go to Mars.
Skittles.
Like, how is this not like? How are we not doing this?
All right, start tweeting at Elon or
like
Xing.
how is
He recently said it has to be called something else because when they first they can be divided politically, left Twix and right.
Gosh,
Twix.
that's really good. That's so good. Oh man, I have to star that. That is incredible.
I do kind of like that. Here's
Gosh,
the thing
that's
with
really
that, is
good.
that, a lot of folks
Gosh.
want to kind of be like
so
politically
good.
neutral, but you can't be neutral like in
That's
between the
so
two
good.
Twix bars.
Yeah, that's so good. Gosh, this might be the greatest comment by Tool for this in this show's history,
saying
and that's saying something because he's got a lot of good stuff. Like this is really good.
I'll say it's definitely his greatest
Gosh, it's
comment
good.
tonight.
Gosh,
I don't know
it's
if
good.
I don't know
Yeah,
where
the
it ranks among
Godzilla,
best
the
Tool
Godzilla
films.
one is probably
good.
up there, right? When we started that
was
whole
good.
thing, but that's good. Okay.
By the way, if you people who are listening, if you have any friends who watch our show or listen to it,
Yeah.
check in with them and see if they know where we are living right now on YouTube and make sure they can find us. If not, because I've had quite a few people reach out and say, "Hey, how come you're not podcasting anymore?" Like, okay, I feel like I am talking people to death about where our new feed is and everything.
Yeah.
And so
You might have
I
to make the
apologize to
feed.
people who are getting inundated with, "Hey, here's where you can find us now." But some people are still missing it, and so I just want to make sure that everybody's
Yeah.
getting it. Because, look, we need a lot of listeners on here, and if we are losing people who want to listen to us but simply just don't know that we have a new feed,
Yeah.
that just can't happen. Jake,
Yeah.
what's your favorite candy bar? You said Twix is top 2. What's
Kit
number
Kat.
one?
Kit Kat. Just nice and simple. A little bit of
Are we
crunch in the
same person?
wafer.
Twix and Kit Kat are my two
Are
favorites.
they
as well.
really? Yeah, those two
Okay.
are great. Like what? Like I don't need any other ones. I can trade for all of those. I really don't. I don't need any others.
I think like Snickers is overrated.
I
I'm not a big
100%
Snickers fan.
agree. 100% agree.
I can once in a while get in the mood for a Milky Way, but I kind of have to
Yes.
have already had a bite of a Milky Way in order to
fair.
get in the mood for it.
Yeah,
Three
I'm fine with Milky
Musketeers,
Way.
kind of overrated. I loved them when I was a
Yeah,
kid. I'm
that's
kind of
a
overrated now.
Yeah, that the taste is, it lost at me with the taste. Basically, like, once you grow up, I don't like it. The marshmallow, it's weird.
When I was a kid, I thought that the filling in a Three Musketeers tasted like ice cream. That's what I thought.
I mean,
Ooh,
it's
wait a minute. Okay, since we have similar candy bar tastes,
okay.
what about Nestle Crunch? Do you love Nestle Crunch?
Yeah, I'm in because it's simple, but it's not too simple like a Hershey's bar or anything like that. It's
I
got
like
a little.
Hershey bar. You don't like Hershey bars?
I think it's fine. I think it's just I like the crunch of like the Kit Kat got a nice crunch to it. The Crunch Bar has a nice crunch. It's just when you get those big ones, it's a lot. That's a lot, a lot to eat. So
My great aunt Ruth used to get me for Christmas.
Baby Ruth.
No, actually,
Oh.
one of those huge Hershey bars, the one
Oh.
that's like 8 inches long
Yeah.
and I don't know, an inch thick. Tyler Dershel says the only right answer is Reese's minus the
Is that
chocolate.
a-
I'm
is
not
that
a
a
big
Hershey's?
chocolate and peanut butter guy.
Is that a Hershey's?
No, Reese's minus the chocolate is just peanut butter.
Oh yeah. Wow, I really did a good job reading there. No, I can't. I can't do that. I can't be there for that one.
I'll tell you, here's a
don't
candy
know.
bar I did not try until I was an adult. And when my wife and I were just dating, she introduced me to Mr. Goodbar. I never had any interest in trying
Oh.
it. Like just chocolate with peanuts, like super boring. It's really underrated. And again, maybe it's just because it's simple.
I feel like I've only had the little ones, right? You get those those packs where you have all the little different Hershey ones.
Yes, and I think
I
the
haven't
little
had a
mini
big one.
Mr. Goodbars are totally not worth eating. But if
The
you
problem
get
is
the
I can eat like
full-size one-
12 of those in a single sitting, and then I don't have to feel like I had like one big
the-
one. But
no, the problem with them is that they come in a variety pack with the other ones that are more interesting, like the Hershey Crackle.
no, the crackles
And
are top notch.
yeah, and so I'm just gonna eat all of them except for the little mini Mr. Good bars because it's just peanuts.
Well,
But if you get one of the actual just normal sized Mr. Good bars that are like 6 inches long, it's actually super underrated, and I think it's because of the simplicity.
okay.
Tyler says candy cigarettes were the best until society deemed we can't have fun anymore. You can still buy those.
I think
Those are
you
still a
can.
thing.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I like Too Old for This is shout with the cookies and cream Hershey's. Actually, pretty solid.
Those are excellent.
Those are. I'm very in on that. The Kinder Eggs. Oh yeah.
I think I had a Kinder Egg one time, and it was like good, but just not that memorable.
Chris.
So, Chris, real cigarettes are underrated.
This is not an ad for that.
My goodness. That's funny.
They've been attacked so far that they're underrated. That's interesting. That's an interesting take.
I think,
I don't think this is candy.
here's
I don't think that's candy. I think
you're
you're in the wrong aisle.
Cigarettes with the filters and nicotine.
I think you're in the wrong aisle.
Too old for this says cigarettes are better than vapes. Here's
What are we
the thing.
doing?
Here's where that comment is maybe somewhat accurate, and Chris's real cigarettes
We've
are
lost
underrated
it.
comment has some accuracy. Is that vapes are not healthier for you than cigarettes? That's the whole thing. Is that
Yeah, they tried to
people
make
switch
that a
to
thing.
vapes because it's supposed to be healthier. It's not healthier. They're both
No.
horrible for you.
Yeah. One just
I
make you
say,
feel better, I guess.
I just have a cigar habit. That's
Okay.
my case.
Boy, we've really got off the rails for at least 10 minutes. This is great.
You talk about football, the chat is dead. You start talking about cigarettes
Yeah.
and candy, and it just
Gosh,
starts hopping.
where was this? We're still on the candy train. It's like December, but I like it. I'm good with it. That's the interesting thing, right? Does the candy run? It's not just Halloween, right? Because they're throwing out, Christmas. You got the Christmas tree Reese's, right? They're throwing that out. So, like, I feel like for me, how about you, JJ? There's two candy seasons, right? It's around Easter, and then it's like Halloween to Christmas. I feel like are the two, like, this is when you eat candy.
Well, and I'm not
'Cause
a
I'm
big
not-
candy guy,
Right, same.
and so like Halloween is kind of the only time of the year that I eat candy.
Sure.
There's also December 6th in my family we celebrate Saint Nick's Day.
Okay.
It's an Austrian holiday. My dad lived in Austria when he was a little kid, and so we celebrate Saint Nick's Day. 3 weeks before Christmas. We also celebrate Christmas too.
Yeah.
But on St. Nick's Day, your stocking gets filled up with candy, and so that would be the other time of year when I do imbibe in candy. So that's
Okay.
when we do get the Reese's trees. So it makes me want to have my dad on the show here because he is the biggest Reese's fan in the world, and he has such strong opinions about the ranking of the novelty holiday Reese's. Where you put the Reese's egg versus the Reese's pumpkin
Yeah.
versus the Reese's tree, and
Tree.
whatever else there is.
Sure.
But do they have a 4th of July Reese's?
I was gonna
yet?
say I don't
need
think
to.
they do, but they need to. Who's not on that? Like, I feel like that would sell, but again, it's not. I don't know. There's something weird about, like, oh yeah, I'm gonna have a chocolate bar in the summer. It just sounds kind of wrong.
Well, okay.
Is
so
that where
here's
Reese's
you-
is like, we'll back off? This is popsicle time. Like, we have to back off. Like, we can't do it.
Well, they just don't have the initiative to do it yet. Because we need to take a leaf out of my grandpa's book because he puts Snickers and Milky Ways in the freezer, and he pulls
Oh.
them out when they're frozen and eats them. So that's what Mars and whoever should get on is tool for this Reese's in the shape of America. Brilliant. I was trying to think, do we do a flag? Do you do a firework? No.
I think you do a
America.
personally, I think you do a firework. I think that would be easier. But America would be interesting. Honestly, probably
Here's
the
the thing
flag.
with
The
America
flag's probably
is that-
easiest. The flag's probably easiest.
You
But, like,
could
don't
do.
they don't have heart-shaped ones for Valentine's Day, and they don't have like a shamrock for. Like they're really limiting themselves. There's a lot of possibilities here. They could do a regular tree for Arbor Day. Like there's a lot of possibilities for Reese's. Like they could do a lot of things. And I feel like they're limiting us. They want to try to take Thanksgiving to like a turkey. I don't know. You know.
So it looks like they have. Reese's has bells. I don't think I've seen.
Wait,
these.
they
bells,
do?
snowmen, and stockings.
Since when?
Santas and nutcrackers. I feel like I've only seen the trees at holiday time.
Yeah, I don't feel like I've maybe the bells, but definitely not the other two.
Bells, I feel like I have seen a couple times.
I probably have subconsciously seen those, not recognized that at all. But the other two are definitely not. I've never seen the other two. That's very strange.
I was hoping that I'd get the definitive answer on Hershey's.com, and they really don't have it, so that's disappointing.
There's no
Too old for
FAQ
this. What are you
section.
talking
They
about?
need one.
The 4th of July is not Ed Policy Day, you heathen. It's the 4th of June. You embarrass me.
White chocolate.
The layer of cheese down the middle of a Reese's in the shape of Ed Policy. Yum, Ed Policy.
Yo, there in the Hershey store, there is a wish list tab you could click on. That's interesting.
Oh, this is great. So you can pick the Reese's that you want and
Yeah.
send it to your wish.
Right. That's what I mean. Like, are they taking requests? That's
Donate $5 to this stream to see Jake and I eat a holiday Reese's next week, live on stream, and also bring your own, and we can eat them together.
yeah. Bring your own. We'll break Christmas tree Reese's.
It'll be
Instead of
almost
bread.
like we're friends.
Breaking bread, but with Christmas tree Reese's.
We should have done virtual wishbone last week on Thanksgiving.
True.
Actually, this is the stream we should be doing it because it's post
Yeah.
Thanksgiving, which is when you
That's
would
a good
actually
point.
have the wishbone.
Yeah.
What we need is we need a virtual wishbone that we can click.
Huh. A lot of possibilities here. A lot of possibilities.
What about like talking football? Is that a possibility? Could we get back on that?
It could. We could. We could do that.
I did still have a couple candy bars I was like,
Okay.
shouldn't talk about. but
Hey,
also
you know,
probably
we'll go whatever direction you like to go right now. We're
Listen,
already
the-
here,
the-
so like, you know.
Okay, so
Okay.
Almond Joy or Mounds, which is better?
Because
I'm
Mounds is
opinionated
dark
about this
chocolate, right? Is that right?
I don't. No, I think the only difference is that Almond Joy's got nuts. Mounds don't.
Really? Oh.
Pretty sure.
Why do I feel like for some reason Mounds has... Yeah, it does. It says dark chocolate.
Oh,
So that's
I wouldn't know. I
interesting.
don't eat them because I just eat Almond Joys.
Yeah, I don't. I'm not like. Yeah, I won't be actively searching for Mounds. I'll just eat the Almond Joy because it's good.
Do you really get into candy at Easter? Is that a big thing for you?
Less now, obviously, than when I was younger. But I mean, I can get into it. I think my candy loving took a big turn. When some of my friends and I were on a trip, and we were in London, and we got a giant chocolate egg. Like I'm talking bigger than my head, which is hard to do. And 3 of us ate the whole thing, and in like one sitting, and yeah, I think it was kind of like, okay, I don't. This candy thing it's not a great idea anymore. So I'm like I can still get into it, but in a limited capacity. So like I just pick my spots now. I'm like Kit Kat, Almond Joy, Twix.
Right.
We're pretty much good. Like I can live there.
I had no idea that you and I were so closely aligned on candies. It makes me really happy.
I feel like
Really does.
nobody's on that island with me. Like everybody's in on like Snickers #1 and Reese is way up top. And I feel like, I feel like I feel like I get, what's nice is with others, JJ, here's our problem. We're going to be fighting over the same candy. Whereas, with others, I can always make the trades I want. So
True.
that's the
Yes. Okay, so
thing.
you don't have any kids yet. I have 1 2-year-old, and we're about to have our second kid. And this Halloween season was the first year that I negotiated Halloween candy with my daughter. So, she's still young enough and generous enough that I was able to just ask her, "Hey, can I have some of your candy?" And she's like, "Yeah, you can." But then we were negotiating about like which ones I was going to take and which ones she was going to keep. And she really wanted at least one of everything. She was trying to give me some of the candies that she didn't want, and so we had to negotiate. And I finally had to tell her, "Look, there's a parental tax. We took you into town and took you down all the streets, so
Yeah.
we're taxing you 5% of your candy."
I like that. That's a good tax.
Too old for this. JJ, do you still have the chickens? We do not have the chickens anymore. It was something we really wanted to do. We really liked the idea of having the chickens, and I grew up with chickens. But my wife and I just realized once we had them how much we travel. We hadn't thought about that before, and after one summer, we had kind of burned through all the goodwill that we had stocked up with people of like, "Hey, can you come feed our chickens while we're gone?" And so we had to sit down and have a decision about, okay, do we want to cut down how much we travel or get rid of the chickens? So good friend of ours goes to our church, has a bunch of his own chickens, and so he came and got our chickens, and they're living at his farm and having a good life over there. And now we can travel guilt-free without having to line up chicken sitters.
Did not know that either.
Too old for this. No, Tyler. Tyler said the Bears are sponsored by Circus Peanuts. Do we want to talk about the Matt Eberflus firing? That happened since our last stream.
We can do that. Yes.
They are
Certainly
probably going to
can.
retain Ryan Poles. As a Packers fan, how does that make you feel?
Totally fine. Totally fine. Because I think, here's the thing. I think if you're one of those that are concerned at all about Ben Johnson going to Chicago, I feel like a big part of Ben Johnson leaving and finding a spot as a head coach is that he's going to get to pick and kind of find a GM that he meshes well with to join him. I don't think he wants to get onto a train that's already moving. So I do think that's the one. That's an especially good thing.
Well, Ben had his choice of, as far as we know, between Seattle and the Commanders last year, and turned them both down.
Yeah.
I have a hard time seeing him say, "Oh, you know what though? Chicago, that's where I want to go." I think that there's
100%.
like probably 5 or fewer teams that he really has his eyes on. I would think Dallas is borderline for him, kind of fringe, because there's obviously a lot to draw you to Dallas, but then you also have
a lot
just
just
kind of a
around
chaotic
you.
situation with Jerry Jones. Are you the one? I think it was you and I talking last week. You said that you thought Jacksonville was the place for him to go. Was that you who said that?
Yeah.
Which I have thought about that a lot this week, and it has grown on me.
It's just like
Shad Khan would probably be on the short list for me of like 5 owners that I would be interested in working for as a head coach.
Yeah, because I think he's very hands off, and he might be too hands off, honestly. But I do think that's going to be the one spot where he'll let you kind of go like, "This is my plan. This is who I want to bring in. This is what we're going to do." And he's like, "Okay, yeah, go ahead." Whereas like Dallas, you're going to get pushed back. Boy, the Saints, I don't love the position they're in, right? Like you have a lot to manage contract wise, and who knows, what ownership's going to want to do there, right? They might be cash strapped anyway, and might not go that route. Yeah, we already mentioned
Mickey
Dallas,
Loomis
Chicago.
Mickey Loomis is a disaster at managing contracts and their cap. The fact that they didn't do a rebuild 5 years ago is unconscionable, and that we are still going to be in this situation in 2025 and beyond is
They'll be there in 28.
It's amazing.
So,
and they're just digging
yeah,
themselves deeper into a hole. They have still not begun the process of starting to fix the salary cap problem that they are in. I really like the job that he does.
Well, that's an interesting
Evaluating talent. Like he drafts a lot of good players.
Yeah.
On both sides of the ball. He clearly got his job because he's a good scout.
Yeah.
And whenever they do move on from him, he's going to get snapped up in a heartbeat.
Right.
Frankly, I would be totally happy to bring him to Green Bay and let him assist Gutekunst in talent evaluation. Totally happy to do that.
Yeah.
But like the decision
to keep
making
this
process of like, hey, how should we approach this year? He gets an F grade
all in.
every single year.
he has to say three words every year. He goes to that end of year meeting, right before free agency's open. He's like, all right, so here's my thoughts. Okay, we're all in. That's all. Drops the pen, or just walks in, writes it on the whiteboard. And again, I do think part of the reason that they're doing this is to make sure that they're not 3-14 and lose part of the fan base. So like if we can just stay competitive, we stay in that 7 to 10 win range somehow and stay in the fight, we'll still draw the interest because we're always competitive in the division. And that's just not the right. I mean, it would take a couple years with as good as you mentioned a talent evaluator to build this thing back up, and then the fan base would be back in. So I don't know why they're not going that direction. But yeah, New Orleans, and then you mentioned both the New Yorks for Ben Johnson too. Like Jets, are you taking that if you're Ben Johnson? I don't think so. No. I don't think I'd want any piece of that. And then it leaves kind of with the Giants.
Future.
Right.
The Jets have no future. They are going to be the same team that they have been our entire lives. They're going to keep being that team in perpetuity, probably until Woody Johnson. I almost said Woody Allen. Until Woody Johnson is out of here.
Yeah. So, like, I think for me it comes down to, at least from what's available, the Giants or the Jags to, like, truly be able to build something. Now the Giants might not do it. Tyler Durschel brought this up. I think this is a very valid point too. It would be kind of nuts. Although Burrow loves to be in the shotgun, loves to be, he's kind of in Rodgers mold a little bit more, where he's like, this under center and all this motion and all this insane creativity, not for me. I got my guys. Let's go win with them, and it's working. But that would be kind of insane. And honestly, the Bengals should be partying with everybody. Anyway.
Did you already think about the fact that the Giants and Jags currently are projected to have the first and second overall picks in the draft this year?
Yes. I mean,
pretty appealing.
When you're going to the Giants, you're being a part of the process to pick the QB, which I think you would like to do. In Jacksonville, you've got the QB. You might be able to sell that if you don't want, the top player. If you don't have somebody as the top player, you have a chance to, work around and build it with, any massive, trade that comes in your way, because you still have pieces on that team. Now you would I think likely want to shed
between the Giants and the Jags. Leaving aside the fact that I don't have a ton of confidence in the Giants organization right now.
Mm-hmm.
The
Yeah.
Jags have a pretty enviable draft position. You know, they projected to have the number 2 pick in the draft.
Yep.
They have 2 third-round picks, 2 fourth-round picks, 2 sixth-round picks. You got a lot of capital you're going to be playing with here. You already have a bunch of great players on both sides of the ball. It really feels like the problems in Jacksonville are not talent, they are coaching. So it feels like the kind of situation you could walk into and just by virtue of just doing a good job at leading your football team, kind of be the savior and orchestrate the comeback without needing contributions from new guys. And then also, like, so they already have a quarterback. The Giants don't have a quarterback, and frankly, like, this quarterback class stinks.
It's not good.
I think the only guy I would be at all tempted to take probably would be Quinn Ewers, and I'm not that high on him as an NFL quarterback. Certainly he's very toolsy, and you like what he, you like the tools he has in his box, but like I don't think I'm taking Shador. Certainly not number 1 overall. I'm not taking Shador. It drops off really quick after that. I mean, I think Carson Beck is atrocious. I've never liked him ever, even as a college quarterback, and certainly not as an NFL quarterback. And like this year, he has absolutely fallen off the cliff. I know, a year ago when we were talking about Carson Beck, or not even a year ago, this summer when we were talking about Carson Beck as a college quarterback, I took a lot of crap for saying that I really did not like his game at all. But like he has played so much worse this season than what I didn't like from him last year. Like if Georgia gets knocked out of the playoffs early, it's squarely on Carson Beck's shoulders because the rest of their team can really ball out, and I think he's the huge weak link there. So, anyways, But Jacksonville already has their guy. He's locked up for 4 more years after this. You've seen what he can do. I really don't think that he's a crappy quarterback. We've seen what he can do. I think it's a crappy coaching job. I didn't like how Doug Peterson was coaching the last, I think 2 years he was in Philly. For sure, his last year in Philly, I really hated. I think he was there for a full year after I was publicly saying he needed to be fired. And I don't think he's done much of a better job since getting to Jacksonville.
Yeah, really, other than the 1 year they kind of went on that run and got to the divisional round, it hasn't been good.
And that really felt like Trevor just making magic happen.
Yeah, and I think what Doug Peterson brought to Jacksonville was just like, hey, this is stable, unlike Urban Meyer, which is like not a high bar to clear. Right? Like that wasn't a high bar to clear in terms of like, oh, this is, stable. This isn't necessarily toxic at the moment, and they got the best out of it immediately. And just now it feels like, Doug Peterson is kind of, maybe Doug Peterson is who we think Jim Harbaugh is, where it's like, oh, he's worn out his welcome, blah, blah, blah. It seems like Peterson's that guy, where it's like 3-4 years in, you're like, I'm kind of sick of this, don't want it anymore. So, yeah, I think it's no question they should be cleaning house. And yeah, you don't have the like, we need to find the boat. Maybe this is a boat. No, we have it. We have the boat. Trevor Lawrence is there. Brian Thomas is there, right? So they have stuff there where if you're trading out of that pick, you're taking advantage, as you said, JJ, in not a great quarterback class at all, of somebody desperate. Excellent. Now you're even set up better than you already were in the draft to restock the cupboard. So, yeah, I think Ben Johnson goes there. To circle all the way back around to where we're talking about Matt Eberflus being fired, yeah, it was beyond time, and it's crazy that this is the first time they've ever fired someone in season. So,
well, you can't say it was undeserved after seeing them get the hits kicked out of them.
No, last 3 weeks. So. And it's very interesting, right, JJ? We kind of said this. Like they went 4-5 on the easy half, and coaching has been the difference in every divisional game they've played so far.
Yep.
And there it goes, right there. That's your difference. Here's your fade down the stretch because you're playing a way tougher second half schedule, when we don't coach well, this is what happens. It's very simple. And again, this isn't absolving Caleb from what happened on Thursday at all, but at the same time, you can't just watch it all unfold and do nothing. So,
well, and
that's all I've got on that, really.
I think that they could have kept Eberflus and still seen a turnaround this year. And I think that they're going to start winning some games at this point because I think that they're close. You know, you go from, what's the adage? You go from losing big to losing by a little to winning by a little to winning big, right? And, you know, they took their last 3 opponents down to the wire. Packers, Vikings, Lions, down to the wire.
Yeah.
I agree that all 3 of those were lost by dumb coaching decisions. Crappy clock management in all 3 of those games. You know, you even go back, 3 weeks ago to the loss to the Packers. Just the decision to not, to play from a position of cowardice and not try and get some more yards to make it an easier field goal, but like, hey, well, we don't want to turn the ball over, so we're gonna, we're just gonna run out the clock and kick a really long field goal. And then the Vikings game was embarrassing to watch in overtime. That was an absolute debacle. And
they got a kick blocked in that game as well, which is crazy.
And so
that's the other thing at the end of that game, right? It was kind of like, oh my gosh, they're settling for a field goal to go to overtime. What could go wrong? Like even before it went really wrong, right? It was kind of like, oh my gosh, I'm sitting there and my dad and I are talking about it. I'm like, they're going to get this blocked. That's how they're going to lose. And it turns out it was worse. But like that's where they're at right now. The like lack of self-scouting, all of this stuff is just come around, and it was time. But yeah, I don't think their team is bad. It's kind of unfortunate that they're, in the midst of the best the NFC North's ever looked in terms of a record, right? Like that kind of sucks. I think we all kind of thought maybe it was going to be Packers Lions kind of doing what they're doing right now. The Bears kind of sitting on that like teetering, essentially
roughly where they are.
Roughly, maybe a little bit higher in terms of where like the NFC West, most of their guys currently sit, and then the Vikings would be where the Bears were. Just so happens the Vikings were way better, McCarthy or not, and you're just kind of stuck in this. This is unfortunate. Like you kind of just like, look at this. Right? Why aren't we in the NFC South right now, please? And like, it is what it is. Like I still think there's
honestly just relegate the
talent.
NFC South at this point.
Yeah. It's not
frankly relegate the AFC South as well.
Yeah.
Talk about underperforming. The Texans compared to what we thought the Texans were going to be.
Yeah,
like,
the Texans, man. It's
And I think that a lot of the blame probably should be placed on Bobby Slowick, but
sure. But there's obviously a talent deficiency there that they could have chased after a little bit more rather than hey, look at this third receiver we got. But
I'm just begging the Bears to please retain Ryan Poles. 3 years ago we were sitting in this situation where they got Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy, and the Bears fans are like, we got to fire Nagy, like he's the problem, and obviously like Nagy is putting himself in situations where it's hard not to blame him, it's hard not to criticize him. You got his comment about I'm not an idiot, that kind of stuff. But like I always said that the problem with those Nagy teams was not so squarely on the coaching as fans wanted it to be. I thought that Ryan Pace was a humongous part of the problem.
Yeah.
They never, ever had draft picks. They never had draft capital. He was constantly trading up, trying to move into a position to draft, like, frankly, decent players, but just, like, sinking way too much capital into each one of them. And they just never had enough good players at any point to really make a run with it. And in my opinion, they made a significant downgrade to Ryan Poles. Like I thought Ryan Pace was bad. I think Ryan Poles has been much worse. I think he's, for every move that he's made that has paid off, I think the previous 5 moves had all been horrific. And like you look at how Ryan Pace used to burn capital that he had to go acquire players. Like Ryan Poles said, "Hold my beer. I'm going to sink way more capital into each player."
Yeah.
And I think Eberflus needed to go. I didn't like the hire from the beginning. I never thought he was a good option to lead the team, and frankly, he kind of outperformed what I thought he was going to do.
Yeah.
But it still wasn't good. It certainly was time to move on from him. And mid-season firing after that Lions game was absolutely deserved. But I'm just begging you, Bears, please retain Ryan Poles, because we have already had to deal with the Lions getting good, and it has been so annoying.
Yeah.
I don't want the Bears to get good too. Like, if we can just keep one, dog in the division to kick around and laugh at in perpetuity, that would be nice. And I think as long as Ryan Poles is there, I'm not too worried about the Bears becoming a super.
Sure. Yeah.
But Tool for this does make a good point that the next GM the next GM for the Bears needs to be a Ryan P, and the next head coach for the Bears needs to be a Matt. So, not sure which up and coming Matt they're going to hire to be their next head coach.
I know a couple. They're not in the football world, but I know a couple.
I got Uncle Matt, my great Uncle Matt.
Are they looking?
Yeah.
Oh no!
Tool for this is Matt Patricia.
Yikes!
You know what that would be? That would be the head coach equivalent of
so bad.
Bringing in DeAndre Swift.
Gosh. That's so bad.
That's what that would be.
Yeah.
Speaking of, hey, listen. You see what Saquon Barkley is doing behind that Eagles offensive line, and it's amazing. And it's frankly not that surprising that a pretty good running back and a pretty good offensive line are really causing problems for opposing defenses. And it just makes me wonder, gosh, could you imagine if the Bears had, say David Montgomery or, Saquon?
Yeah,
they
what
could
would
have
that
had
look
Saquon.
like? What would that look like if they had Montgomery?
What would that look like? We'll never know, because instead they gave a, $12 million or whatever to freaking DeAndre Swift, who's never been good ever. He managed to be mediocre in Philadelphia, the best running team in the NFL.
Yeah, it's true.
Bears could still play spoiler in the North. Lions at home and Minnesota and Green Bay on the road. They can't screw up every week, or can they? I mean, I'm putting money on Green Bay to beat them.
I think so.
If they could bite Detroit and Minnesota, that would be nice.
Yeah, I mean they have 3 road games left, and then a pair of home games against the Lions and the Seahawks. So, and obviously the Niners are this week on the road. I don't imagine they're going to lose all of them. Granted, I thought they were going to pick off the Vikings, a week and a half ago or so now. So I wasn't. I was wrong there, but there's still a chance, I think, of a 2-3 finish in some capacity, because I do think they have the talent to match up when they're playing. When they're playing at their best. So I do think they could go full Kansas. They really could. There is that chance. They play 2 NFC West teams who cannot afford to keep losing games. Like, they have to stay in pace with the division. So, yeah, they could be Kansas and Syracuse.
Speaking of, did you see Kansas got their doors blown off by Baylor?
Yeah.
Holy cow!
All great things come to an end, unfortunately.
And air being let out of a balloon. Finish that was for Kansas.
We will never forget the Kansas Linsanity run of 2024. Boy, that was a thud. Before we make that transition, because that was a good one, JJ, Game picks. What do we got for Thursday?
So
'Cause I think
am
we're on the
taking
verge of transitioning here. So
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go ahead and take the Packers to beat the Lions.
okay,
I'll let you give your pick here. I'm gonna update my math real quick here and see if I can
go
get a score
ahead.
prediction.
I just want to know what the line is really fast. Okay, 3.5. Wow, it's not as big as I expected it to be. But I mean, after watching last week, I get that why it's lower. Oh man, I think Green Bay can win this game. I really do. I think. What is it? It's 10 straight now. Yeah, I think
Straight what?
wins for Detroit. Right, I think they lost week 2 to Tampa, if I'm not mistaken.
I thought it was later in the season than that.
Was it?
No, they lost to the. Oh no, the Chiefs lost to the Bills.
Yeah. No. Yes. Yes. Sorry. Yeah. Gosh, the top. We got to talk. Are the Buccaneers actually Kansas, JJ?
Well, the Buccaneers are.
They've beaten the Eagles, the Lions, They've beaten the Eagles, the Lions. They went to OT with the Chiefs.
Okay.
And they were in the game with Baltimore for 3.5 quarters.
Yeah.
Are they the Kansas of the NFL? I think they are.
Who'd they lose to?
lot of
Besides
teams.
division rivals. Who'd they lose to besides division rivals?
Yeah, I was going to say they have lost to Atlanta twice.
I don't really care about rival games when we're just trying to assess how good a team is. It just doesn't.
Let me see. They lost to the 49ers.
Not a rival game.
They lost to the Chiefs and Ravens in close games.
So now
the
when
Broncos.
did they lose to
The Broncos was the one.
When did they lose to the Niners? What week was that?
That was week 10. So a few weeks ago.
So
I think that was
after the
McCaffrey's.
Niners started stinking.
I think that was McCaffrey's first game back, I believe.
So I have the Buccaneers as the 14th best team in the league. That's about Kansas territory. You're
It is.
middle of the conference.
Yeah.
Well, middle of the league rather.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Unlike Kansas, they have a chance to win.
This week is thrown off because the Packers play back-to-back Thursdays.
Oh,
Yeah, that is weird. I don't remember the last time I've seen that happen. And the other thing that's really weird about that, the Packers and Lions are both playing back-to-back Thursdays. That's the other wacky thing.
Well, they always actually do that.
Really?
They always do that after Thanksgiving. I don't know when they started doing it, but they've now done it for a while, where two teams on
Packers
Thanksgiving.
Played 2 Thursday games in a row last year?
I don't think so.
Oh, you're just saying 2 Thanksgiving teams play each other.
Yes. 2 Thanksgiving teams will play the following Thursday.
Yeah.
I don't think it was either Green Bay or Detroit last year, but I could be wrong. But yes, it is a very weird thing. It's very strange when it's, back-to-back Sundays after the bye week where Green Bay's not on. Definitely a strange thing. But yeah.
Okay, so you got to throw the math out somewhat when you are, or almost entirely when you are looking at rival games. But just for grids, look at the math anyways. Via DVOA, over the course of the season, just the whole Lions season versus the whole Packers season, Detroit should be favored this week at home by 1.5 points. Which is super duper close. Using ELO, Detroit would be favored by 11 points. If you shift it to just their last 3 games, it stays about exactly the same for DVOA, but the gap closes to 9 points via ELO. If you instead switch it to home versus away for the whole season, which is another interesting way to look at it, this does favor Detroit significantly. 4-point favorites for DVOA, 14-point favorites for ELO. Obviously, the Lions play extremely well at home, and the Packers have played much better at home than they have away. But again, this is kind of the point where I toss that out because of the rivalry game, because I think the Packers get more amped up to go play the Lions in Detroit than they have the last couple of years when Detroit comes to Green Bay. So
Yeah.
I actually, when we were talking earlier in the season about our predictions for what we're going to do in the division, I said that I thought we were probably going to split with the Vikings. We were going to sweep the Bears. And then I said that if we beat the Lions, it would be in Detroit, not at home. And so we're still on track for that. So I'm still sticking with that prediction.
I like it.
I do think the Packers are going to win. And I'm going to predict that the Packers get an early lead. Detroit chases for most of the day. And I would think that the final score will be close, but that at some point in the game, the Packers are going to have a pretty significant lead. Like maybe a 3-score lead over the Lions, but it's going to end up being a 1-score finish, maybe kind of a heartburn finish, like a 5-point or a 2-point, something where you're nervous the final time that the Lions have the ball. That's my prediction for how this game goes.
This game will be close. This is not advice. I'm not soliciting advice. I think it's going to be closer than 3.5 where it's sitting at, which obviously includes the Packers win outright. Couple quick things just to finish up this talk. On the season, explosive play rate, which in these rankings, it's just a 15-plus yard play, either passing or rushing. Lions number 2 on the year, Packers number 4 on the year. The Packers are actually top 3 with the Lions in terms of explosive rush rate. They're 10th on the season explosive pass play rate. Lions are number 2. Last 4 games though, Green Bay's number 1 in total explosive play rate. I'm sure you saw this today as well. Someone
I did not see it, but
retweet
it lines up with where the Packers have improved in every area the last 3 weeks. Just worth noting, because we've checked in a few times this season on where the NFC North teams rank in the NFL. And I like to use a combination of DVOA, ELO, and also a little sprinkle of PFF grades in just for the measure, just to give a little more context.
Sure.
So I have consistently for the whole season, except for a brief period where the Vikings were number 1 and the Lions were number 2 in the NFL. The Lions have been number 1 for me almost the entire season. The Packers, for a long time, were sitting at around 14th, and then they slowly moved up to 10th. And they kind of sat there for a while. They have jumped up. They are now 6th overall in the NFL. But you got to remember that is for the whole season. That is not adjusted for recency. So if you were to adjust it for recency, which I don't have anything set up to do that math right now, that would obviously put them a lot closer. So for just one last time for reference here, Lions number 1 in the NFL, Vikings number 3, Packers number 6, Chicago number 17. So again, to your point, like
fourth team,
put Chicago in the NFC South, and they're cooking.
Yeah, 17 for
and
fourth
Matt
best team in the
probably has a job.
division's wild. I'm gonna take Green Bay in this. I'm gonna take them. Let's go 26-24. Kind of a hang on thing at the end. If they get the ball first and they score, I think everybody should feel really good. That's the path to win this game, as well as forcing a turnover too. It would be very apropos of Green Bay to win this and then go lose at Seattle on Sunday night. That is very par for the course with Green Bay.
Well, Green Bay does not lose a lot of Sunday night games, though.
They don't. But it is just it's a week. Maybe it's the Saints the week after. They're going to lose one of those next two if they beat Detroit.
That sounds right. Saints loss incoming. if they beat
Yeah,
Detroit.
like I think they're going to lose one of those 2 games if they beat Detroit. Just be prepared for that too. So, yeah, but I
Saints
I do
are
like it.
yeah. Saints have been a really up and down team. Right now they are number 21.
MVS revenge game. Look out. Look out.
You'd see a lot of Packer fans in hell if he had a. If he had a
Look
crazy
out
game.
below.
By the way, for
Especially
my
if Ja's not
prediction,
playing.
What'd you say?
Especially if Ja doesn't play.
Yeah.
Not good, Chief. It's not good.
Yeah, because they'll have Stokes manned up on him the whole night probably because of the
Yeah.
speed. That's probably what they're going to do.
Yep.
But for my prediction to hold up, I think you're gonna see a couple things. One is you're gonna see pretty high scoring game if it goes the way that I was kind of laying it out. And I'm talking maybe something in the vicinity of like, I don't know, 34-31, something like that.
Yeah, Cody, we were talking about that
We know
earlier.
Cody.
Yeah.
Don't remind us. Tool for this prediction is Green Bay 69-16. Love it.
That'd be great.
But the other thing for my prediction to hold up is you would have to have a breakout game finally from the wide receiver room as a whole. You got to have at least 2 wide receivers have a really good day.
Yep.
And I'm projecting more than 2. I'm projecting 4 wide receivers have a good day.
Okay.
So
there you go.
that is the formula for my Lions projection coming to pass.
Okay. I like it. There we go. So 2 picks for Green Bay on the road at Detroit. Going to be a good one on Thursday.
We
Now,
need
we're not
Adam
done
Rank
with
to get in here and pick against us so that
Yes,
so we don't
that would
get
be big.
jinxed.
That would be big.
Ooh, tool for this Tucker
2.
Craft 2 touchdowns.
Wow.
Hey,
Look at
Dersh.
this. Look at this.
Tool for this and Tyler Dersh.
Wow.
Do we know for a fact that Tool
They're
for
not
this
the
and
same?
Tyler Dershel are not
Yeah.
the same person?
You never
Just
know.
2 laptops in front of him.
Could be.
I feel like
Could be.
these 2
That was
guys
That was a mind meld.
might just be
right there.
one super fan
That was a
with 2
mind meld.
laptops.
But I like it. My fantasy team would like that as well.
Rinse Capsaicin says Dobbs still not out of concussion protocol. Hope that changes tomorrow.
Yeah.
You know, that is actually the wild card I hadn't kind of thought of, is that
Yeah.
Dobbs is probably not playing. I would actually say he's almost certainly not playing.
Yeah, I don't think so.
And
It's
I
tough.
kind of feel like to really run over the Lions in the way that you want to, you kind of wish you had Dobbs active. So
Yeah, I mean, I think you can put anybody out there to cook Terry and Arnold right now. So I'm not too upset. I do think it's going to be harder to throw at a guy like Carlton Davis, but Wicks has proven that he can win against just about everybody. It's just really about securing the football. So,
well, should we talk more
See.
about the offensive game plan a bit here? Because you were laying out a path to victory with a heavy reliance on play action. I think you're going to need Christian Watson and Jaden Reed to
yes,
to take those safeties out of action of
sure.
of the run game. That's going to have to be crucial. And if you can pick on Terry and Arnold and heck is the name of their other corner on the opposite side?
Davis.
Davis, yeah. You can cook those guys and the, husk of a linebacker room that they're trotting out
Right.
there all day.
Yeah.
And those safeties, as we said, are like both of them are going to be trying to ruin your day.
Yes.
Frankly, I'm kind of expecting Brian Branch to get ejected again. By the way, I don't think I went on a rant last time we played the Lions because I was, trying to just lose with some dignity.
Yeah.
I am tired of the fact that the Lions play dirty. I don't have a complaint about like them running up the score or them being like, hey, we play tough. Like, okay, sure, that's fine. That's your identity. Like, great, go for it.
Yeah.
I don't like the way that they play dirty. They are headhunting, trying to cause injuries. Like, that gets old for me really quickly. And it's been a thing in Detroit for a very long time. What surprises me is that it has still been a thing now that they're a good team. Like, that is the surprising part to me, that the playing dirty, trying to hurt other players, try and see how many rules you can break without getting caught. It surprises me that that is still part of their DNA now in this new regime. Do you have any pushback on what I'm saying?
Not really, no.
James Houston trying to pull Jordan Legg's foot
That's
off.
the one I don't like. That's the stuff. And it's happened to multiple QBs this year. It's not even the Lions. Like, you're starting to see this, right? Herbert got one done to him, which was New Orleans, unfortunately, which is still in the schedule. That's tough. So you're seeing that. And that's, yeah, and Cody McDougal pointing out that Sue was part of that, and I think Fairley was as well back in those days. So, yeah, it hasn't gone away. Again, I think when you preach a lot of physicality, which, again, that's totally fine, right? You want your team to play tough. But when you preach that physicality and you bring that intensity, some guys are going to take that intensity and physicality to a level that they shouldn't be taking it to, right? So that's all I really have on that.
Oh, Prince Capsaicin says that James Houston got released. I did not notice that. I missed that.
Yeah, they did waive him. I think Cleveland ended up picking him up, which is funny.
Of course.
So
it was either going to be Cleveland or Cincinnati.
Yeah.
Why did he get released? Do you know?
I think just ineffectiveness. Which, again, he got a major injury, right?
Pass rusher.
Yeah. Must not have been the same after that injury, so.
Okay, he was just released just a couple days ago.
Yeah.
Lions release reserve defensive end James Houston, cutting ties with a player who failed to produce as well as he did during his rookie season. 2 days before the Thanksgiving game. So, interesting. I didn't realize his nickname was The Problem. That's kind of funny.
Huh. Interesting.
So, the thing that I think is weird is, although maybe he was not like the best schematic fit for what the Lions are trying to do, like they have been very thin at defensive line this year. It's odd to me that they were so quick to move on from him in, what is this, his third season? And like, I don't think he's been bad. I thought his rookie season and his sophomore season, I thought he was quite good. He didn't get a lot of playing time, and I just chalked that up to him being a rookie and not knowing the call and not knowing his responsibilities so well. But he's always been a good pass rusher, and I thought his instincts were good. It's just odd to me that now is when they would choose to move on from him.
Yeah. Yeah, it is a very weird time considering how thin they are at the position. Yeah, I don't. It's really hard to say, right? You're not in the room. I know the play has fallen off. He did get, he had that injury, so after that hasn't been at that level. But yeah, very weird release.
We got dueling comments here. Too old for this thing. Dan Campbell learned from the cleanest coach of all time, Sean Payton. And then Cody McDougal sticking up for him and saying, I can imagine Dan not standing for any kind of that action, especially knowing they probably saw it on film too.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah, that's true.
How, do you know how have the Lions been at defending the screen game? Because that's kind of been more and more kind of a staple of the Packers offense. Is that an area where we can exploit? Like, obviously, I don't want to be drawing the safeties closer to the line of scrimmage, but also, in addition to running the ball, the screen game is another nice way to take advantage of once you've already taken the safeties out of the play.
Yeah, I haven't noticed that too much. I think there's a chance. My issue, I think, is with that interior, the defensive line. Right, they're not the elite pass rusher 3 techs that get after you quickly. So it's a little bit less of it like an aggressiveness and explosiveness to take advantage of in the screen game. I'm trying to remember if the Bears had much success with it. I feel like they were just more drop back pass, Caleb scrambling. So I don't think they really took advantage of any of that, which is weird because that gives Swift his best chance to succeed, right?
Well, it's also kind of the only thing that
flipping
they've
him
been
the ball and
consistently able to get going offensively for the Bears ever has been the screen game.
Yeah. I haven't noticed it a ton in recent weeks against Detroit. But again, Detroit hasn't had these super great matchups. I do think Mixon got them a couple times, if I remember correctly, on Sunday night. Because they bottled Mixon up in terms of running, but I do think they got to him, if I remember correctly, a few times, and he ripped off some big ones
the heck are you talking
after
about?
the catch. Huh?
Who are you talking about?
Mixon for Houston.
Oh.
Because you said the screen game, and I was trying to think of recent games, but they've been blowing teams out so heavily. So I'm like, I don't remember the Bears doing it. I do remember Mixon maybe it wasn't screens, maybe it was checkdowns, but like he had a few catches in that game that went for some big yardage. So maybe if it isn't the screen game, it's the checkdown game where you have a talented running back who can do work after the catch. That's what I remember.
Speaking of the checkdown game,
but
I would like Jordan to focus a little bit more on his short area passing.
For sure.
It's just an area where I feel like he's regressed a bit. And like obviously I think it just has come at the expense of him focusing on some other areas of his game, but the short area passing game, and I think that the rocket ball that he threw to Josh Jacobs, what was that, 2 weeks ago now? Was kind of like the poster play for what I'm talking about here. And like there's been a couple times in the last few years where he couldn't complete any of the short any of the short area throws. They were just like off target, and we at least this year kind of attributed that to loss of strength in his leg with the injury, that he just wasn't able to plant the way he needed to. I feel like his short area throws for the last several weeks have just felt hurried. It feels rushed. Like he's not bothering to consider what type of touch is needed on that throw. And like the ball it's either a rocket ball or it floats for an eternity, and by the time the ball gets there, the guy is getting tackled for a 1 yard loss. So I think that that's maybe an area where he could improve, because it does kind of feel like if the first couple reads aren't there and the play develops to the point where the check down should be open, it's kind of never a positive for us. It's always a successful play for the defense, because it's just something about the process of him deciding what type of pass is needed, or what type of throw is needed to complete that check down, either ends up in an incompletion or letting the defender get there in time to make a play. So just feel like that's maybe some low hanging fruit for Jordan.
No, I think that's a fair point to bring up for sure. Yeah, and it's these lates. Yeah, it's the late stuff where extend, and then like people are looking for you to check it down. It's not like read one, read two, check down, like quick enough. So, yeah, I think the longer he strings out the play, the less you should be looking in that direction. Unless you flooded a side of the field where you feel comfortable taking something underneath, and they've got a lot of guys that are sinking vertically. I think you have to be very careful when that play gets strung out.
Cody says that Jacobs' throw late was a no-no. I bet they've been seeing Reed out in the flats on quick throws. I'm praying that won't get jumped. I agree that a Jordan pick six on a screen has just been begging to, or in the flats, has just been begging to happen. I think even just this past week, what's his name, tried for the Dolphins, Storm Duck, tried to jump it and just mistimed it ever so slightly. And like, obviously, you need to play at an elite level to make a play like that. But you know who's exactly the guy to make that play? And frankly, has a couple times against the Packers in the last few years? Kirby Joseph.
Yep.
I don't want Kirby Joseph jump in a play like that and take it the other way for 6, I would say there's a greater than 25% chance that he houses one this week on exactly that play. I would guarantee that Detroit is going to try and scheme that up. That's absolutely something they're going to try and take advantage of.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, they blitz, but they can also blitz and just have guys drop into that, into the short area like Flores has done a lot in Minnesota, where you blitz and you also take away the quick stuff. So very, very possible.
The chat is naming somewhat obscure Lions.
Yes, they are.
Here. We are almost at the 2-hour mark here.
We need to make the transition.
And no super chats, which I don't know how I'm going to get a new webcam here without without super chats.
Follow on Spotify.
Yeah, speaking of, I didn't pull up. I was supposed to pull up what our poll was from last week. Let's see here. I got it right here. Let's see what the results of last week's poll were. It's timing out. Of course it is.
Let's see.
It's our last chance before we make the switch to our final re-rank of the regular season here.
Yep. While you're bringing it up, I need to bring.
It's not loading. I'm just moving on from it.
All right. Northern College. I might be able to pull it up. Is this the... No. Yeah. Isn't this it? Do you like... Yeah. Do you like...
Oh, I thought I put a fun poll up there last week.
Oh. Do you
this
like...
is great
Northern?
podcasting.
I guess not.
Great podcasting right now. All right.
Okay. Let's switch. All right.
And we're going to do this quick. We're going to do this quick.
Yeah.
So, and I did
as
not...
quick as possible.
I did not update the records of everybody. So, I think from Minnesota on down, I did not update with the results of this past game.
The funniest part is Pitt won 7 and then lost 5.
Ever since they played Syracuse
This is
just
crazy.
Just jinxed them.
Syracuse. Gosh, man, that's the W of the week, isn't it? Well, there might be another one.
So, we're not talking about that. But
I'll give you plenty of time to rant about that one.
I'm not going to rant about it. Listen,
okay.
here's what we do have to touch on.
Okay.
The latest college football playoff rankings came out.
They did. Yes.
And I would like to inspect how many northern teams are playoff bound. So we have Oregon, Penn State, Notre Dame. They're all ranked in the top 3. Of course, Notre Dame cannot actually finish with one of the top 4 seeds.
Dumbest rule ever.
In a conference.
So stupid.
Ohio State coming in at number 6. Indiana, number 9. Boise State at number 10. Now, you may notice Boise State ranks ahead of any Big 12 teams currently. So, now the College Football Playoff Committee has previously emphasized a bunch of times how much they value winning your conference. So, maybe we see a boost to the Big 12 winner to propel them ahead of Boise State.
Yeah.
But as we stand right now, Boise State would be probably the 4 seed.
Has the bye. Nuts.
They'll get a bye. So you're looking at
New Year's Ashton Genty, baby.
Yep. And you're probably going to get a Bama Penn State game. That could be really fun. Bama Penn State.
Yes, it could be. I would like to say this, JJ. I think Notre Dame probably has nightmares right now that Bama's back in the mix.
Yeah.
They do not want to see them again.
No.
They're like, that's nightmare fuel. They wake up a week from today and it's Bama. Oh man. Now Michigan did the same thing. They took care of business, but that's just, again, you make the playoff, you're having a good season. That's just like everything starts coming back to you. Anyway.
Now, I mean, we have Georgia might lose their conference championship game to
Maybe.
Texas, which makes them a 3-loss team. I don't think they should be in the playoffs with 3 losses, but that's neither here nor there. We're going to get at least one 3-loss SEC team in the playoffs.
Correct. Well, there is one way, I think, that you don't get it. Right? If Clemson beats SMU. I think that's, if you don't want a 3-loss SEC team in the playoff, I think that's your path.
Because then you're saying that's the path to getting Clemson and SMU in the playoffs?
Correct. I think there is that chance that they would do that.
Yeah, so you're looking at, like, if the betting favorites win their matchups, you got, actually it would be Penn State, Arizona State, Notre Dame, Bama, Georgia, Indiana, and
Gosh, Texas,
Ohio State,
favorite.
Tennessee. And I think we're almost certainly going to get Ohio State, Tennessee one way or the other.
It's possible.
It's just a matter of where that game's going to be played. I will just say, like, I think worst case scenario for the first round of the playoffs would be if Ohio State somehow gets the 7 seed instead of the 6 or 8, because it looks like Indiana's going to get the 10. And, like, you show me one person on the planet who wants Indiana at Ohio State rematch. We just had that 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, we already did that.
It was not a very fun game for anybody.
No.
And, like, we're not even like switching venues. It's just gonna be Indiana at Ohio State again.
Same thing.
Like, I just would urge the playoff committee, like, maybe take that into consideration when you're putting this together.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Notre Dame, Bama. So your thumbs down on Notre Dame, Bama. You don't want to see that.
I kind of do. I'm a sicko like that. I kind of do. I want the Notre Dame fans panicking for this. I really do. I think
our guy too old for this, who is famously not a college football guy, but he sticks around for this portion of the show.
That's really good.
Asks, what does SMU mean? In the military, it means small marching unit, but I don't think that reflects to college football. It does, but only with the service academies.
Yeah.
So,
right.
No, SMU is what? Southern Methodist, and
Yes.
where they're located? Where in Texas?
Aren't they?
SMU, tool for this, is the poster child for, like, they are the team who received what's called the death penalty from the NCAA. They had to, like, completely shutter.
Yeah, they are north side of Dallas.
Okay, north side of Dallas. So they had to completely shutter their football program. I forget how many years they were banned from having a football program, like a decade or something like that. So, and then this year is their first year moving to a power conference, and they are currently betting favorites to win the ACC. So, really pretty cool accomplishment. Obviously, we would prefer to see a northern team win it, but there's no northern teams in the running. So, screw Clemson to eternity. So,
100%.
We are Team SMU for this.
Yes. We are northern teams first, but if we're going to root for a southern team, rooting for a southern team that's playing Clemson is the way to do it. So,
too old for this. Would like to see. You'd love to see a Pentecostal college football team. That would be the PU. So
yeah, I don't. Yes.
AFAM is NMU. Is that not much university, or is it Northern Michigan?
I know that's a thing.
I live in Northern Michigan.
UNM, but
the part I have had people ask me, like, what do you call the place where you live? Because I'm not in the UP. It's just Northern Michigan. If you're in the UP, you're a Uper. If you're in the Lower Peninsula, you're a Loper. If you're in the upper part of the Lower Peninsula. You're a high loper. So does that mean if you live in the middle of the Lower Peninsula, you're an interloper?
Could be. I really enjoyed how we said this was going to be brief. I think we have to just say it to be as a bit going forward, but we didn't even.
I mean, to be fair, we have
we
not
didn't
talked
even
about the
mention
results of a single game
Correct.
except for Kansas Baylor.
Yeah,
So,
which wasn't even right now. It was way earlier. We were deciding who was the Kansas of the NFL.
Hey, shout out to
okay.
Utah, though. Number one for finally winning
Oh
a
my
game and for having that win come against a Southern team. So shout out Utah.
I don't think I'm going to give them a shout out. It's been a rough year for you all.
Should we go ahead and do our re-ranking here?
Yeah.
So I'm going to be the first to. I'm dropping Ohio State out of Tier 1. Screw Ohio State.
Yep. Tier 2 looks nice. 4 teams in there that should be there.
Ohio State. Listen, you're going to have Mike Vrabel coaching you next year. It's going to be a good time, right? Ryan Day's going to be the next head coach of the Bears.
There it is.
Notre Dame.
Yeah.
11-1, 5-0 against the South. I'm bumping them ahead of Ohio State, mostly for
Wow.
being 5-0 against the South. Ohio State just hasn't played against other teams. I think they
they
probably
haven't.
would beat just about any Southern team that they played. Tool for this says he lives in Minnesota. Would that make him a noper? Absolutely, it does.
I guess. Indiana, Penn State. Similar spots. Penn State take care of business. Indiana really took care of business, by the way. Holy crap. The line was 29, and they doubled it. They more than doubled it.
The fact that the line was
That's
29,
tough, man.
I just didn't even look at that, or else I would have bet on Indiana to cover that.
Is that the biggest line in the Oak and Bucket history? Has to be.
I have no idea, but it's not the biggest spread in India or in the final score of an Indiana game this year.
Right.
I
Where
forget.
is it? Where is it? It's been close.
It's
no, it is 77-3.
Jeez.
They've won games by 66 and 74. That's crazy. That's crazy.
I was about to rank Penn State ahead of Indiana. But, like, that's such a shellacking. Like, even though Purdue is in the Florida State tier.
Yeah. Purdue has been competitive before. And, like, this one was just – this was tough. This was tough. Pretty much a fitting end for Purdue's season.
And Ryan Walters got fired, the head coach of the Purdue Boilermakers.
Maybe he comes back to be Illinois' DC. Who knows?
I thought that was a not great hire, Ryan Walters. I did not. I like Jeff Brom better as a fit.
Sure.
And I didn't think Ryan Walters did a great job. What kind of money would you lay on Ryan Walters going back to Illinois next year?
Well, I don't know if their defense was that bad, Illinois. If it was like horrendous. Yeah, I don't know. Not much money, but I because there might be other DC jobs out there that he could go get.
I mean,
But
Illinois'
obviously
defense was
worked
pretty darn bad last year without it.
Yeah, it worked. It worked well when he was there. Now, granted, they had NFL players on their team.
I mean, they coughed up 28 points to Northwestern.
They threw a pick six. They threw a pick six. So,
okay,
that
still
one
21 to Northwestern. So let's see, 17 to Kansas, 9
win.
to CMU. That's not good. 24
All
Nebraska.
right, we're doing too much.
Penn State.
We're doing too much.
49 to Purdue. Come on, 49 to Purdue, man.
Yeah, I don't know. It was 27-3 at half. I don't know. That game was weird. All right, where else? We've got tier 2 done.
I think so. I'm bumping Colorado back up to tier 2. I think, or at least I'm making the case for it. 52-0 over Oklahoma State. I mean, like, yeah, Oklahoma State stinks this year, but
they stink.
You still want them in tier 3?
Yeah. Yeah, I do.
We won't put a 3-loss team in tier 2.
Yeah, Yeah, we're not giving in to 3 lost teams. We're not giving in. No.
All right,
Who
tier 3:
can't?
Colorado, BYU, Iowa
Sure,
State. The one thing I might be tempted to bump Iowa State back up over BYU where we had them earlier in the year. So BYU beat a stinky Houston team 30-18.
Also,
Iowa State.
big shout out to BYU for getting that done for Iowa State because that's why they're in the title game. At least partially why. So, what a strange week. None of the 4 could auto qualify. They all needed help. Very weird week for Big 12. But Iowa State is in it with a chance to go to the playoff, which is, kind of mid-season where we thought they should be based on how they started. So
It's kind of a heartbreaker that Colorado is not going. I'm not going to say they're like underdog, darling team, Cinderella team. Like obviously we know this is the story with them, but like when they started playing really good football this year, especially second half of this year, I started rooting for them to win the Big 12 and represent the North because they are good. And then Kansas came in and absolutely wrecked their freaking faces. So that was
Kansas. Unfair advantage, was wearing elite uniforms, played at Arrowhead as well. Got some Chiefs magic probably into that game. So, but that's what happens when you play Kansas in late November.
So
they're hunting.
Jake, take your northern hat off for a moment. You're still like solidly rooting Kansas State over Iowa State over Arizona State.
Oh, by so much. By so much. Again, I have a sibling and many friends that went there. I am rooting for them to find a way into this playoff any chance possible. Would love to go to that game.
You're going to be at that game?
Might play.
You going to be at that game?
If they win and go to the playoff? Yeah.
No, the Big 12 title game.
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
Okay.
If they played, if they played a little closer, other than Arlington, maybe. But if they go to the playoff, I'm going.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. They are probably, if they win, they are probably playing at Penn State. Holy cow, that'd be fun. Now, Penn State.
Is that big enough
Beaver
a game
Stadium
for them?
Sucks to try and get there. Like Happy Valley sucks to try and get there. It's similar to trying to go to Oregon.
Yeah. Well, I was hoping it might be 12 Iowa State at 5 Notre Dame.
That would have been a lot of fun. I think Penn State is probably going to be ranked ahead of Notre Dame.
Which is a shame after they lose by 30 against Oregon. Because we know about those Penn State Nittany Lions in big games, don't we?
I mean, we know about Notre Dame in big games, so
we do.
They're the same.
But they're not playing this. They're not playing this weekend. They don't have to worry about it. Penn State got to worry about it. But yeah, that'll be interesting to see where they end up playing. Would be cool if it's a trip to South Bend or even the Shoe, but I think we kind of lost out on that possibility this week.
Yeah, that ain't happening. No, Ohio State is either at home versus Tennessee or they're going to Knoxville.
Yeah.
You could hear the hesitation in my voice right before I said the name of the city.
Yeah.
I was second guessing myself.
Yeah, I mean, I'm fine with moving.
I think there's a non-zero chance that you get Ohio State versus Georgia after Georgia loses to Texas, if that's the outcome of that game. I think there's a non-zero chance of that.
Yeah. Someone had that as their prediction. Some big account did today.
Which would be fun. I thought last year...
I still think Texas is losing.
I thought last year sending a one-loss Ohio State team to go play frickin' Mizzou was a travesty. Like nobody wanted that game. What everybody wanted was Ohio State, Georgia. That would have been a banger.
Yeah.
Non-playoff bowl.
No doubt. So how are we feeling about tier 3? Kansas probably has to
So,
drop. They lost by they lost by 28 to Baylor. That's a bit of a
yeah,
tough seed.
I'm putting them
Farewell,
behind
sweet prince.
Washington.
Yeah.
It's tough. Like Washington and Kansas, I think are clearly really talented, well coached teams that had disappointing seasons, and also, you have a lot of reason to be excited about their future. There's a lot of comparisons to make for me between those two teams, and frankly, Syracuse. Like throw Syracuse.
Yeah.
I think the only difference is like I think on a program basis, like Syracuse, I would not put in the same league as Washington at all. Whereas I think
Yeah.
Kansas is in the middle between those two. Of course, I don't know. I mean, like historically,
Yeah.
Kansas never won anything. Like who knows? Maybe Kansas Syracuse really is the best comparison. But for this
Could
season,
be.
with how much Washington had lost and the season they were still able to put together,
Yeah.
I think we were certainly rooting for those three teams, like even among other northern teams, like we were rooting for those three teams to put it all together and have a great season. Maybe Rutgers in the same way. Like Rutgers just really got bit by injuries. Rutgers and Utah are kind of
Yeah.
comparative
Yeah.
programs for this season.
Yeah.
I think this is probably fine.
Iowa.
I still have some
Iowa.
temptation
Iowa shouldn't
to
even
put,
won. Let's put that out there. Got handed some points on a muff after they were getting thoroughly beat down and shut out. Just very classic Iowa win when they shouldn't have. Yeah, very classic. To lose to beat Nebraska that way, ridiculous. Didn't love it. Whatever.
Minnesota.
I will say Kansas is ahead of two teams that beat them in that tier. But I don't like the way Kansas State's been playing. So,
Minnesota have a bye last week. I think they did.
I think it was the week before, but same difference.
Minnesota is the team that I kind of want to bump up a tier.
Okay. I don't see why not.
I kind of think they belong more in tier 3. Nebraska, and again, these teams down here, like their actual record, I'm behind a week on.
Nebraska's
It
6 and
takes a long time to
6.
enter these.
Yeah. Pitt 7 and 5.
Nebraska,
Lost their
absolutely
last 5.
a disappointing season. Super disappointing season for Nebraska. Like, yes, you had a rookie quarterback, but like, dude, dropping 4 in a row, dropping 2 teams against the South. Like, okay, you lose to Ohio State. That's expected. You lose to Indiana and Illinois. Those are like not shocking losses, but certainly disappointing losses when you think about the the expectations that Nebraska had for their season. But the
That's true.
UCLA and USC losses are just absolutely unconscionable. I mean, this is the crappy version of USC. It's not the USC that was
No.
good. UCLA has been horrific. Who was the other? Oh, Iowa. Iowa lost to UCLA.
Yeah,
as well.
UCLA beat Nebraska and Iowa. That I definitely didn't have that on the bingo card this year.
I don't
that
know
was
that there's been
crazy.
a bigger disappointment in the North this season than Iowa. Unless it's Ohio State. I mean, Ohio State has
I
frankly
guess,
not
yeah.
turned in the performance that anybody was expecting them to.
Yeah. I think
but
that's
like,
right.
I thought Iowa was making the playoffs for sure. And then, like, yes, their offense took a step forward from where it's been, which, like, almost.
What does that mean?
Like,
you know,
you could put.
you
You could have me as the play caller, and I think that things would have gone better.
and now Caleb Johnson is leaving.
than what they were doing.
So,
They need some semblance of competent quarterbacking. What they really needed this season was to put together. They either needed to find some type of QB competency, or to string together the type of offense that Michigan did, which is
Yeah.
like even this past week against Ohio State, like Davis Warren was still horrible. Like you look at his numbers, it's putrid. They certainly were not carried to victory or helped hardly in any way at all by their quarterback play in that game. It was entirely the defense that won that game for them.
Yeah.
And frankly, Chip Kelly. But like they managed to win games in spite of the quarterbacking
Yeah.
late in the year. And like that's
Mm-hmm.
you see, you live with that kind of offense and you drop a lot of games. That's what Michigan and Iowa both did. Like you have to have better quarterbacking than those two teams had this year. And for Iowa to still, after all these years, not be able to put any kind of competent quarterbacking out there is just unforgivable. This really should have been their year to make it to the playoffs and win a playoff game. 100%. Maybe win 2 playoff games.
Yeah.
So let's
know
look
me
at
as
tier
the
4.
colossal hater and non-believer in Iowa, so I feel vindicated. This is good. Happy that Illinois finished with a better record than them. Love that. So, yeah.
Yeah,
We're all
Illinois
in
had a
on
good
that.
season. Were you expecting
No.
9-3
No.
or better this year? Because I
No.
certainly was not.
No.
That surprised me a lot.
No.
And they had some good wins in here.
They-
Beat Kansas
beating-
by a touchdown. Beat Nebraska by a touchdown.
I firmly believe they would have been 2 and 3.
Beat
through 5
Michigan.
games. That I thought for sure was going to be the case.
The Red
So-
Grange game was absolutely fantastic. Good win against Rutgers last week. Like that. This is not the bad version of Rutgers anymore. Rutgers. Is
No,
coming back
they
to
they turned it on late, which
strength.
is good for them. Good for them.
Yeah.
Finding it late in the year.
So you see what Rutgers did to Michigan State this
Yeah.
week, 41-14.
And I mean,
So,
very similar outcomes. Illinois Rutgers playing Michigan State, right? Very similar, scores. So I
Yeah.
think it tells you that those two are pretty even. And if Rutgers had a healthy season, that they could be up in that sort of tier. So
I would. I think Illinois probably for the way they finish belong higher in this tier. Like certainly ahead of Iowa. Maybe ahead of Kansas if we're just like comparing the full season. Like Illinois' losing stretch was not as bad as Kansas's. I think Illinois. What do you think? Does Illinois belong above or below Washington? I have my answer, but I want to hear yours first.
that's difficult. I think ahead of Kansas, below Washington makes sense.
That's exactly where I am.
I think you could convince me either way on Washington versus Illinois, but yeah, I do think.
And then I think with the way that Kansas's Cinderella run ended, I think we got to knock them down, like at least below. Now, Kansas State beat them, right?
Yes.
So they got to go below Kansas State. I kind of think that it needs to kind of.
Your audio is getting a little softer, by the way.
Oh, sorry.
There you go.
I think it needs to look about like this, and I'm not quite sure what to do with Iowa. Like Iowa really was
I
never
don't
that
know.
competitive in the Big Ten, whereas Kansas State was like right down to the wire. They were in it for the Big 12. Like so, Iowa or Minnesota. I kind of think Iowa is a little bit more dependable. Like I kind of think Iowa just ahead of Minnesota feels right.
Yeah, I think that works. That
Okay.
works. Syracuse, the win of the week. As we said, inside of you there are 2 Syracuses, and boy, you talk about
It wouldn't
showing
be
up.
the Syracuse tier if we didn't just put Syracuse right at the
Yeah,
top of the tier.
I agree. Right at the top. That's where they belong. I mean, I think to kind of speed it up, I think Pitt drops below most everybody in this tier. losing 5 straight
just
after starting 7-0.
Pick.
That is not ideal, folks. Yeah, Rutgers over them, Michigan, Nebraska, yeah, all over them for sure. But a strong finish for Rutgers. Losing back-to-back UCLA USC is tough. They took a beating from Wisconsin, very unexpected, but finished strong. Good for them. Yeah, don't blame me there. I would put Michigan ahead of Nebraska, considering the results of this week. The second biggest win of the week, or maybe the biggest, depending.
I'm not giving that one to Michigan though. That's a rivalry game that like everybody watching that, like there's not a soul who watched that game and said, "Wow, I can't believe what Michigan's doing." They all said, "I can't believe what Ohio State is doing." Why is the only play in their book running it directly at the only good players on the entire roster? What are you smoking? Like, I'm sorry. I'm not giving that. Like, I will absolutely take that away from Ohio State. Like, they deserved to lose that game. And, like, kudos to Michigan for showing up and, like, doing what they do well. But that is not going to propel them ahead of other northern teams not named Ohio State for, like, being gift-wrapped that bananas bonkers offensive game plan from Ohio State. Like, I'm sorry. That doesn't boost your resume for me.
No, but Nebraska just gave it away to Iowa this week. In complete control.
You just want to punish Nebraska, you're saying.
For this week, they had control of this thing. It was 10-0 in full control, not giving anything away, and then they gave it away. Like it's just, again, it was just not delivering on expectations, losing to UCLA and USC. Like full season resume, I'm taking Michigan over Nebraska. Yeah, I just didn't. It's just Nebraska. It's just can't do that stuff.
We could do that, but I'm not putting them ahead of Rutgers.
No, I don't think you have to put them ahead of Rutgers. I just meant solely Nebraska. For me.
So
I feel like Michigan State needs to
final
drop.
question is Michigan State.
They got to drop.
I think the reason they need to drop is because of the name of the tier that we're moving them to.
Yeah. No, I agree.
I think that's why they need to drop.
Yep.
Just like they dropped 41 to Rutgers.
14, yeah. Again, Michigan State, pretty brutal schedule. You have overperforming Illinois, overperforming Indiana, right? You still lose to Michigan. Ohio State and Oregon back-to-back. That sucks for you. But, you know.
I mean, at one point, they lost
5 straight. No, 6 straight.
Six out of 7 games.
Yeah.
They beat Iowa.
Yep.
So they lost 6 out of 7 in this stretch that included 2 bye weeks.
Yeah.
So I don't know how this.
They could have lost those 2. Who knows?
But a disappointment. I don't think that Jonathan Smith should be worried for his job right now per se, but like it's absolutely a disappointing season.
Yeah.
Same for Wisconsin. I think that we've been so up and down on Wisconsin all year, and you look at their winning stretch. It came against Purdue, the bad version of Rutgers, and Northwestern, and that's when we started giving them some credit.
Yep.
This is
and again,
bad.
I will say kudos to them for
losing
playing
at home to Minnesota.
Yeah, I kudos to them for playing Penn State tough for most of that game, and then giving Oregon their biggest scare since Genty. But the last 2 games, those are pretty rough for you to finish that way.
I think Wisconsin has to. I want to drop them. But like, who do you drop them behind? Like, it's just the disappointment tier is the disappointment tier.
Yeah, it is. That's why it's called that. Do we feel like Cincinnati should be in there? Did they lose? Or did they win?
Cincy lost to
jeez.
TCU.
Bye. Bye. Oh, 5 in a row?
Yeah.
Whew.
Again, like, are you in or out on Scott Satterfield?
I'm not sure. I mean, hey, they beat Arizona State. That's that's quality, but then again, I mean, they kept it, like, as you mentioned, kept it pretty tight with Colorado, but losing TCU to finish is a tough one to swallow there. To me, I think when you look at the schedule, I feel like you should see 7-5 on there, and you don't. So, but they're in the same tier with a team who lost 5 in a row to end the season. So it's
What did you think? FYI, so Fred McFarley is talking about Emmanuel Forbes in the comments. The Rams picking up Emmanuel. Thoughts there? Like, first of all, do you think the Packers put a? Did you hear whether or not the Packers put a claim in for him?
I doubt it, simply because it's like a 165-pound corner. Like, Green Bay just doesn't do that. That's just never going to be their type of player. They still have size threshold stuff.
For the draft, not for just bringing people in the building.
I mean, yeah, but I just don't see Goody doing like that. I think they stretch it, sure, for bringing guys in the building, but like that is something they won't do. So I was very shocked that he went in the first round.
So
very shocked. I think it was a lot of lucky interception production. Where am I seeing
Look at this comment here from Evan the reporter. I don't think that is accurate.
I haven't seen anything on that, so
don't think that's accurate. West Virginia still has a head coach, and Cliff
maybe there's
Kingsbury
a rumor out there, but
heading probably to the playoffs.
Yeah.
But this does remind me of the NFL account or the Twitter X account. Evan Massey, steer clear of that guy and his bogus NFL insider information. That's a troll account that people don't seem to understand is not real. So, anyways, Emmanuel Forbes missed out on that one, but you're thinking that they probably were not in on it anyways.
I don't think so.
I don't know. I just think that they are really in some dire need of help at cornerback.
They are.
Not that Forbes is necessarily going to fix that, but at a point you got to start doing something. Like,
well, I think the something is
not working.
I think the something is like Kalen King. Like, I think that's the something that they should be trying.
Yeah, is Kalen King still on our practice squad right now, or did he get cleaned? Yeah. No, I'm definitely ready to.
That's what I would like to see.
I'm definitely ready to see him start playing.
Huh.
Like, at this point, honestly, like, playing over Stokes. Like, I'm sorry, like we have been big Stokes defenders until this season, but like it's time to put somebody out there who can play football. Like, Stokes is always in the wrong spot.
Yeah.
So I'm just kind of done.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that Stokes is horrible in run defense. Like, that's kind of the one.
Yeah. Or playing near the line of scrimmage. Like, he can tackle near the line of scrimmage. That's fine. Yeah, exactly. For sure. Yeah. But coverage, just not really being in a position to make plays on the ball or the receiver is tough. Very tough combination.
So I think
and then Haddon too, Kamal Haddon, as Fred McFarley mentions as well. Like, they elevated him once and they haven't. Like, we got to try stuff. Like, we got to try stuff.
That Robert Rochelle is not getting looks on defense.
Yeah, I don't know why that is either. So that's why I was, when you mentioned it earlier about like only 5 had played corner. for Green Bay
that
this season. I'm
surprising?
like, man, you got to try something. Like, got to King, Haddon,
I would really
Rochelle,
like to-
something, bro. Something.
I don't know when the last time we had media availability from Jeff Hapley was, but I would like to have his comments on
Yeah, I don't know if he was this week or not.
the corner situation. And like the defensive backs as a whole have been pretty productive the last few weeks. But I think that's a little bit more a result of the run defense kind of getting after it, to where like these teams that we've been going up against have really felt the need to work hard to establish the run early on and then not throw until they're down late. And that's kind of been, there's kind of been this consistent theme every week of like at the end of the game when they're throwing, and we're not even talking about, the 4-minute drill. We're talking like 5 minutes into the third quarter. The defensive backfield is just getting diced up, and then like, hey, we're on the 2-yard line, and Xavier McKinney makes a interception or whatever.
Yeah.
And then we're just kind of hoping that the Packers offense can not go 3 and out here.
Yeah.
And the whole time, anytime the opposing offense gets the ball, we're just like, it's heartburn the whole way down because, oh, look, here's another pass to George Kittle. Oh, here's another pass to George Kittle. Oh, here's another pass to George Kittle. Or whoever it is, just like they're always open. So I don't know. I just the cornerbacks have been bad, and they've been bailed out by the safeties so much.
Yeah.
Which I just don't think anybody thought that was the situation that we'd be in this year.
Yeah.
So, well, listen, we're at the
It's true.
2.5 hour mark, and I'm starting to fade. So, Jake, do you have any closing thoughts for us here? I did want to address this comment here from Too Old for This. I need a tattoo of Ed Policy. Which picture should I get? Let me show you my favorite Ed Policy picture. This will be the one that we're gonna also outro the show with. But Jake, while I'm pulling up this photo, any closing thoughts from you?
As I said previously, Matt LaFleur, you win that toss, you take that ball. That's all I gotta say. Take the ball. Okay. Make the Lions chase on Thursday. That's it. That's the, if you had to give me the short, sentence to talk about the game, that's the one.
I don't know why this won't open. I'm just gonna have to share my whole screen instead of just the photo, and that's gonna be kind of lame. Here you go. Too old for this. In the words of the late great Mr. Ed Policy, whose face you absolutely should get tattooed somewhere on your body. This is the one right here. I wish I could make it full screen.
Oh, the green suit. Yeah.
The green suit with the thoughtful chin stroking.
Yes.
Let's see, is it?
Yes.
Gonna load? It's not loading. It's too. There we go. Hey.
Yeah,
there we
that's
go.
the
Okay.
one.
Oh. What the heck?
Oh man.
Disaster class. All right. In the words of the late great Jake, hand over your heart.
Yeah,
What are you doing? You
I'm
slob?
here.
Thank
I'm
you.
here.
Thank you. In the words of the late great Mr. Ed Policy, in whom we put our faith and trust. Go. Pack. Go.